All right, we're doing it live.
We're doing it live! Hi. It's us again, episode 4. We're here, we're back. It didn't take 4 months. It took 4 weeks? 3 weeks? I don't know. An exorbitant amount of time.
Yeah, like 4 weeks.
Cool. Well, we're back. We're going to continue where we left off. Dino unfortunately can't be with us tonight, so we'll press on in his absence and pray for his swift recovery. Even though he's not sick or hurt.
I was gonna say, did his wiener fall off again?
Into his...
I heard he actually got diarrhea from a Whataburger banana pudding shake.
Banana pudding shake that he mixed with a fucking...
Not a surprise from Whataburger.
Dude, I don't know why, but that made me think about, like, was I the only one as a kid, like, the word castration? I thought that meant they chopped your dick off. Did anyone else think that, or was it just me?
Castrate?
I mean, that can be included in the definition, I think.
Can it?
Yeah.
Can you still shoot a load if you don't have a dick somehow? Is that possible?
It's very messy,
Like-
but yeah, you can do it.
Like, it would just kind of look like squirting ketchup out of ketchup packet, maybe.
It just kind of oozes out. A
Just
slug.
dribble out of you. That's how it works.
Dude, wait, can you shoot a load if you don't have balls?
Maybe?
Is it
No.
like you still shoot the watery part, but there's no squiddlies?
It's a good question.
Yeah, I think that's how it works.
Good. I'll chop my balls
Although I'm
off
no
and let
doctor.
you guys know.
You, like a fucking burst of air just comes out instead.
I would advise against it, but all
It's like,
ears.
Lissai. Oh man. Alright, cool, wholesome television. So we ended on Final Fantasy Tactics. So we're gonna move straight onward. We are down here at the bottom. To recap, we are gonna go up through. This is a two boys column. At least two of us have these games in our lists, so we're gonna put them in the top 50. We're gonna start by putting them in this where's my brackets? This bracket right here, this column, where they will just be entered, and then we'll have to bracket them out. And Shayna Baszler's games are not. All right, first one we're gonna talk about is Left 4 Dead 2, one of my OG favorites. Anyone here play it back in the day? I would assume lots of people.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
just
played
curious.
a little bit of it, but not a
Mhm.
ton.
So just curious, like who played it on PC and who played it on console?
PC.
I played it on console.
PC.
See, yeah, I was
I
like,
think I played it on console.
yeah, I know a lot of. I knew a surprising amount of people who played on console, but to me,
I didn't even realize. Was it part of the Orange Box?
Yeah,
huh?
but I think it was standalone, or
Oh,
like
okay.
I think no. You're right. I think Orange Box was like TF2, Half-Life 2, and
Portal. Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
there something else?
Yeah,
I
I
just
think
remember.
Left 4
Was it-
Dead 2 is
Yeah, it
new.
was the three of them. I think it was the three of those together.
Yeah. So yeah, I didn't
I'm-
realize that they
Wasn't it?
had
Yeah.
Left 4 Dead 2 on console.
Yeah.
You know what's cool?
Yeah, I'm pretty
When I went
sure,
in
yeah.
when I was in Japan, I found a Left 4 Dead 2 arcade machine.
Wait, arcade. Was it
Yeah,
like
it's
did it have
an
like a light
arcade.
gun?
It was like an arcade machine that just had like an Xbox controller sitting on top of it,
Okay.
and you just grabbed it and played. But the whole cabinet and everything was like a custom cabinet just for Left 4 Dead 2.
Did you
That's
play it?
weird.
Yeah, I did play it, and it was weird. I put in like, the money to play it, and I would die, and it just kept restarting. Like I couldn't figure out how to die and like end the game, and I had to walk away. It was
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah,
Do
it
you
was
know
kind of
what was-
weird.
My favorite thing about Left 4 Dead 2 was this part right fucking here. Like where you have to do the thing. Oh, and it runs at like 20 FPS, man. That's legit as fuck. Let's find another one. Oh, it's weirdos. What? And prep for everything. Yeah, whatever. We'll just watch it. Yes, because that's how we. On PC, no less. But yeah, just this whole thing, I don't know why, this fucking captivated me. I was like, yes, I get to run on a fucking roller coaster track, and then all these like clown zombies and shit are chasing you. Yeah, I think like, I don't know, do you guys think it was a good thing or a bad thing that like, Left 4 Dead 2 was basically just Left 4 Dead 1 with more levels?
I think it was a good thing.
I mean, I don't think it. I think the more levels is cool, but it just felt cheap that you're paying that much money for what is essentially the same game. Like it's not like there was a bunch of more content, you know? It's like, okay,
Yeah.
cool, more levels. It would be like buying Call of Duty and then getting a couple of like extra maps and paying $60 for it.
I mean, I would argue it'd be like buying Call of Duty and getting an entire another campaign.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, I never played Left 4 Dead 2, so
Whoa.
I guess I don't really have like a experience perspective. But it just seems like that there was overly negative kind of narrative when it came to that. I mean, for the most part, the people I know that played it said that there was like plenty of content, and I mean, really, when you look at it, that kind of thing was way more common in video games earlier on. Like, you know, if you look at like the original Mario 2, it's basically Mario 1, but just new levels, right? It doesn't really add like that many new mechanics or anything like that. But I don't think that's inherently a bad thing, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, you remember the boycott? Like how like
Yeah, people
No.
lost
this
their
show's
shit.
coming on and people were boycotting it, and then like day one, everybody in the boycott group on Steam, like 80% of them were playing it. That screenshot, that shit was funny. Oh man. But yeah, no,
Somebody remind me why were they boycotting it? I don't remember this.
because it came out too quick, right? Like they had made I don't know what if someone wants to look that up, like the release dates between Left 4 Dead 1 and 2. But it was kind of like what Chris was saying, like it was just this it was like the same game, but released right
Oh,
after
got it. Okay.
But it should have just been like content that was included or something. For me, like I didn't have a problem with it though, because it was like this is Valve, and I was like, if Valve is gonna do this, there's a reason for it, right? They're gonna put in some real new content. And I mean, they put in an entire new campaign. They added like a whole bunch of new enemies and stuff like that. But I mean, I can understand like wanting to do a little bit more. But I don't know.
This is back when actually Valve actually made games, right?
Yeah, yeah. You know the old like the trifecta, right? Where they only make 1 and 2s, they never make 3s.
Yeah, they can't count the 3.
Right.
Yeah, I love this one. You know what? One of the things I'm gonna search it right now. A lot of things. Some was really underrated. I feel like was the scavenge gameplay.
I was just gonna say real quick.
Yeah.
Like in terms of just like a new game with just new levels or whatever. In my opinion, Mario Galaxy 2 is basically just Mario Galaxy 1 with more levels.
Yoshi.
But that game's awesome. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's a little bit more than just a few more levels, though, right?
And
That
Yoshi.
game's got, yeah, but it plays different. Like,
Not really.
I thought it played different with the Yoshi thing.
Yeah, I mean, they introduced new levels, and it's like, yeah, I guess there's Yoshi, but I mean, ultimately, it's basically a glorified expansion to Mario Galaxy 1, and it's a great game. Like, it's not, like I said, I mean, I don't think like,
Got him.
I don't think like plain iteration isn't necessarily bad when it's like a second game. I mean, if you're talking about like a 4th or 5th game in a series and it's still like quote unquote the same game with just new levels, I think that's a problem, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think it just goes to like, you know, is the game you've made like how beloved is it? Where it's just like, hey, I just want more of it. I'm happy with that. Give me more. And that's kind of how I felt with Left 4 Dead 2. You know, same way with like Mario Galaxy, right? Just you had a fantastic feeling. Give me more of it. But yeah, man, I love this mode. No one ever wanted to play it with me. Whenever we do the LAN parties and shit, we do like the one campaign thing. Did you play this one? You liked it?
Yeah. My experience was, I think we saw it like maybe a minute ago. My experience with this game was lying on the floor, dying, shooting everybody with 2 pistols constantly, you know. But yeah, this was a super fun one. My opinion on that whole thing, like with the drama and stuff, is that you know, maybe they extorted their players, maybe they didn't. But also, who's not going to play it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like people thought that was bad. Then like they saw EA and Activision evolve into what they are now, and they're like, oh, you know what? Never mind. You know, that was pretty cool. But yeah, I love this one because like the biggest problem with Left 4 Dead was like you try to do PvP. It's basically what happens is you start your campaign, the one team goes, and then the other team switches sides, and then who's ever losing, everybody rage quits. And so like you never really get a full game out. And so like this to me was like perfect because it was like, all right, this is just a small like round 1v1 kind of thing. Like you could do more than one, but you got the full experience.
It's also just way more chaotic, I think,
Yeah, exactly.
which is fun.
It also has the birth of my favorite mod ever, out of any game ever. It's the fucking Macho Man mod. Did you guys ever install this?
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Just gotta listen closely.
Hell yeah, brother.
So I installed this once, and it now every time I reinstall Left 4 Dead 2, it comes included. It's fucking awesome.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's like the Skyrim one. I think it came out around the same time, like when that was.
I think
in.
Left 4 Dead 2 predates it, but
Does it?
yeah, right before Skyrim.
I know
Like maybe
the
not
first-
Oblivion, but yeah, like I couldn't find a spot of it. But there's like if you have this mod installed, it actually does the tank is
Yes.
actually a Macho Man skin, and he throws a fucking giant Slim Jim at you.
Yep.
It's fucking awesome, man. Yeah, but I don't know. I love this game. To me, it's like I've always been a huge co-op fan. This is like some of the best co-op I've ever enjoyed. Just shooting zombies with their friends. I mean, we've done it all, played all the campaigns, and like, I used to play it with Chris and Joey Lou, Justin, Josh know, some friends of ours, and we used to try to like beat it on expert and stuff, but it was so hard, and a lot of memories, man.
Yeah,
Anyone else?
for me, like that game is tied with like LAN parties. Like when I think of LAN parties, I
Yeah.
think of Left 4 Dead, and vice versa. It's just perfect for, like, it's just perfect for it.
Yeah. Agreed. But yeah, anyone else have any memories of this game otherwise?
I remember not being nearly as good at it as I wanted to be. That was always my problem. Like I liked it; it was fun. I got it. So like somebody gave me a copy of the Orange Box as a gift. That's how I got it. And so for me, like it was annoying that like because it did kind of feel like a lot more of the first one, but it didn't bother me as much because I got it for free. So it was like, well, how much can I complain, you know? So I used to play it a lot with my cousin, and he was like way better at it than I was.
Yeah, and I know
That
Back
part
for
was the most
Blood
frustrating.
came out, and I know Dino was big on it and wanted to play it a lot. And I think Jenny's brother was too, but like, I don't know, like it didn't feel the same. Like this feels so, like the gameplay feels so loose and so free, like you're just running around, and I don't know, it's got not like Quake controls, but like I don't know, it feels like really like easy to play. Whereas like Back for Blood was like tight, and then you had to like do these like fucking cards and shit, and these loadouts, and I'm like, I just want to shoot shit in the face.
Did it have like vaulting and stuff too?
Vaulting? Like
Yeah.
jumping over stuff, or
Yeah.
I don't think so. I mean, I only played it for a few hours, so maybe I don't remember.
That's something that I kind of miss about this like era of game is that you're just like kind of running around and like you're watching people like jump on the
Jump crouch.
yeah, or like walk on the railings and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And that
100%.
kind of doesn't happen in I think it feels a lot more freeform when you can do that.
Yeah. Hell yeah. All right. Well, that's Left 4 Dead 2, a true classic. We're gonna add that to the list right now. Yeah, Chris, we gotta get you to play that if you've never played this game before.
Yeah, I played the first game, and I liked it a lot. It just at the time that it came out, I went through a phase where I just wasn't playing that much stuff on PC because there was just a lot of shitty PC stuff at the time, like 2000, I don't know, 2009, 2008 ish.
Oh, it had come out earlier than Left 4 Dead 2. Was that 09?
Right.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. I remember where I was now when I saw the. All right, cool. There's Left 4 Dead 2. Next one on our list, Batman: Arkham Asylum, and we do have Arkham City up here too, so that'll get its own thing. Where are my Arkham Asylum gamers? Anyone play this?
Oh yeah.
No, nobody's ever played that before.
Turn it on. Oh, commentary. Oh, yeah. I remember this game came out, and it was like, it was super weird. Like, it came out of nowhere, but then like right before it launched, like I remember getting a ton of coverage out of nowhere, and I was like, "What the fuck is this game?" I'm like, just another superhero game. I don't care about it. And I remember,
I thought this exact same thing.
exactly. It was like
Yeah.
garbage. Like, who cares?
It's like, oh great, another Batman game. It's gonna have limited abilities and it's gonna suck.
And it's not going to have as good a soundtrack as the NES game.
Well, that's still true.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
And yeah,
That'll always be true.
fucking bangers all day.
Facts.
Yeah. Yeah. But I remember, you know what's funny is like I went to pick up I was gonna go pick up. This came out at the same time as like Monster Hunter on one of the Monster Hunters on PSP. And I remember, I think Josh and Berto, you guys were coming into town, and we all picked up that game.
Mhm.
But like right before we went, this had like a free demo on like Xbox 360, and so I like downloaded it just to see what, you know, heard a couple people were talking about it, and then you just immediately get into a fight, and it was like, wait. Like they did the combat right. It's not just button mash. It's
Yeah.
like, you know, the guys surround you, and it's got that comic booky feel. The little sensors go off, and you're trying to counter, and like you're letting them come at you one at a time, and it was like, okay, that draws you in, and then you start doing the stealth stuff and like the actual, like, you know, the detective work, and just, damn, what a fucking banger.
I would say it's one of the first fully 3D Metroidvanias that worked well. It's like when you look at like the game structure, it's, you know, it's basically a 3D Metroidvania.
I never thought about it that way, but I think you're right.
Yeah, like it really is, especially like if you go back and replay it, kind of just like the basic structure, how the maps are laid out and stuff like that, and the quote-unquote backtracking with new abilities and whatnot. And obviously that aspect was only for this game, because, you know, City went open world, and, you know, Origins and Night went open world, but yeah, I mean, great game. I had my issues with it. You know, there's like a lot of recycled boss fights. And,
Yeah.
like
that
the
was
Scarecrow stuff, where I remember the first Scarecrow boss encounter, I was like, holy shit, this is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And then it does it, like 3 more times, and you're just like, dude, come on.
Is this the part where it is? Yeah, I remember, yeah, the Scarecrow first encounter.
I thought it was so creative the way that they did it too, because like nobody had really done anything like that.
I say, yeah,
Or
like,
maybe they did, but it didn't feel like it.
I think what I remember the most about this one is just how cool it was to have the voice of the Batman from the animated series do the voice of this Batman, and Mark Hamill do Joker, and I know everyone was making a big deal about it, which is still a big deal because
Well, to be fair,
it adds so much to it.
They were the only ones doing those voices at the time. They hadn't really swapped over. There was one other guy who had done a couple of minor projects as Batman, but it had mostly just been the two of them for like the last 20 years.
Okay.
So like anything game-wise, cartoon-wise, like secondary off projects, it was always them, always the two of them. So
yeah, and I mean, like, that may be true, but I think, like, I get what Jose's saying, where it's like, when you get in there, it makes you feel like, I don't know, it has a good effect on you to make you feel like, yeah, this game was made with like passion about people.
That part I agree with. It kind of makes it feel like, okay, we're home. They did it right. They did it the right way.
Yeah, they could have had like Nolan North or some shit be Batman, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know why, but when you said Nolan North, I thought of Peter North, and I was like,
why did Peter North do this? Shooting straight rope.
The ropiest loads, bro.
The ropiest loads.
Why is Batman using a baton?
Yeah.
But before this was, and there really wasn't you stop me if I'm wrong about this, but I don't think there was that many superhero games around this time when this came out. At least good ones or licensed superhero
good
games.
ones. It had been a long time.
Yeah, I know that was
Usually they're
another
not
thing
good.
too.
Yeah,
right. Usually the licensed game usually sucked, and this kind of turned that around. It was usually you get the Batman based on the movie or something like that. And that game usually sucks ass. And then this came out. I was like, whoa, this is actually a Batman game that's more than competent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the last superhero game that I remember that had critical acclaim and players liked it as well was probably Spider-Man on PS1.
Spider-Man 2, huh?
Spider-Man 2,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
and Spider-Man 2. Yeah, those
Yeah.
Neversoft fucking Spider-Man games were pretty legit. But yeah, I mean it'd been probably like close to 10 years. But like the last time where you had like some super legit superhero game on consoles.
Yeah, I don't know. This whole thing was just like fucking crazy. It was like you just felt like these guys just could not miss. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's times where it's like you meet someone doing their craft or they do something where it's just like they are so fucking incredibly naturally good at it. And it feels like it's probably just effortless for them. And it feels like this game that they made was just, god damn it, they nailed everything.
I kind of see it like with the same way you see certain athletes with sports, right?
Yeah.
The true greats, the Michael Jordans, the Stephen Currys, they make it look easy, right?
Yeah.
Because they're just that good. And Rocksteady, for these 3 Batman games, some people have differing opinions on the latter 2 or whatever, but I mean, I think it's hard to argue that they're not all great games.
Yep.
And kind of like everything just feels like it fits. It just feels like, oh yeah, this is a great game.
I think part of it too is that DC in particular, at least before this, had kind of had a shit history when it came to making video game tie-in games. Like I was just looking them up just now because I was like, oh, what was the last like main DC one that came out before this? That wasn't like one of the fighting games or something like that. And it was the Superman Returns 2006 video game movie tie-in.
I think a game.
And it's not a great game. Like it definitely could be worse, but it's not a great game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of set the formula for that superhero game, right? I mean, even Spider-Man, the Spider-Man games kind of ripped off that formula.
Did it?
Oh yeah, at least the combat. I mean,
yeah, I was gonna say the combat's similar, but it's different
yeah.
enough to feel unique. Especially after the first game with Miles Morales, they had more stuff and whatnot. But it definitely set a template. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I liked about it was all of the stealth sleuth stuff. I think they did really well.
Yeah, let's find some stealth.
I actually didn't like the combat as much. So like, yeah, the combat's fun and the combos and all that shit. I actually really liked all of the stealth stuff. Which I think if you play this game and then you play Arkham City and you play the other ones, this one had more of an emphasis on the great detective stuff. The stealth stuff, and less the combat. Although the combat was a big part of the game, the combat became a sort of predominant part of the game later in the other games. You know what I mean? Like this one was more stealth, more investigative, and the other ones were less that, right?
Yeah.
Which I know some people like the other ones more, but I like this one the most out of them because he is Bruce is the detective, right? Like that's what Ra's al Ghul calls him in the comics, right? So like for me, like I think a Batman isn't just like, okay, cool dude with cape that does punches. For me, he's this master detective. He's a walking genius. And I feel like this game did a really good job at that. And also this is like young Batman, like earlier in his career, supposed to be, right? Compared
this is
to
what?
I'm
Like,
not sure if it is or not.
Like he'd captured these guys. They're in there, right? But he's
Right.
earlier in his career than like old Batman and these guys
No,
have been around forever, right?
this is later. This is after was it Jason Todd and Nightwing and all that shit.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Yeah, because I think there's like he makes references. The Joker makes references to Jason Todd and shit like that. And then
Oh,
Arkham Knight
yeah, you might be
is
right.
I think Arkham Knight is Jason Todd, isn't it? Like he's like the what is it, the Red Hood or whatever the
Red
fuck
Hood.
the guys. But yeah, that's a game I gotta play through one more time, give it another go. I only played through it once.
Oh, this level in
Interesting.
particular that you're showing, I really like this level a lot. Like the stealth in this room was actually really fun. I there's like an achievement I remember that you could get that if you beat the entire game on stealth without getting caught, you got like a special achievement. And I wanted to play my first playthrough that way.
Hmm.
And I had to replay that level a bunch of times in order to try to get the achievement.
Yeah, that's what I liked when you beat the game and then they give you like the extra missions and they say like, hey, go back and do this, but you have to do these 3 things. And it puts you into this like mode of thinking like, okay, well, how am I going to go do that? And then you start to explore more and you're like, okay, if I set this up here and then I could do that there and then I could get 2 of these things done. And then, it changes how you approach things.
Yeah, for sure.
One of the things I remember most about this game is like this thing got like that meme of like, it's a game that really makes you feel like Batman,
Right.
like every single fucking game journalist said that shit.
And Batman doesn't kill. Remember that, guys.
Kill. But yeah,
Do you know what death is?
But you know what? This game reminds me of like how like the 360 had like random little like action-y kind of games that just came out of nowhere and were good. Like this one obviously spawned an entire franchise, but like the X-Men Origins Wolverine game was really good. The
Really
one based
good.
off, off the shitty movie.
So, yeah, I mean, it's not on our list, and it's kind of a tangent, but I played the demo of that,
Mhm.
and I was so blown away that I went and I bought the game for it. I really enjoyed that game. That was a lot of fun. It didn't make my list, but I mean, that was a really fun game. I think because it was such like a, this is Wolverine. We're not gonna like take powers away or make the game lame just
Yeah.
in order to try and give you some weird gameplay. And that was the thing I liked about this game too, is they still let you be Batman, right? It's always the problem with Superman games though, right? Because he's supposed to be this indestructible, unstoppable force. So how do you make the game hard to little punch a planet, you know?
Yeah.
Batman is a more interesting character as a result. And so you had to like use your brain to get all this stuff done.
Yeah, the secret is that Superman sucks.
Well,
He's an interesting character. It's like the body of a god and trying to balance the morality of like living in a universe where you could destroy anything. And how do you hold on to your humanity at that point, right? So as a character, like the way he's written, especially like the last like 20 years or so in the comics, he is actually a very interesting character. But I think most of us identify with Batman more in the way that we identify with Han Solo. When you're 5, you love Superman and Luke Skywalker, and as a angsty teen, you want to be Han Solo and get with Princess Leia
and Boba Fett
and be Batman. Well, yeah, we always want to fuck Boba Fett, right? That's a given.
I mean, I think the most interesting thing about Superman is the kryptonite condom question that was brought up in Clerks. It's like, can he bang Lois Lane? And he may shoot a load like a shotgun, so to speak. So there are some very interesting conundrums, and
would that give him erectile dysfunction?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh god. Well, yeah, Arkham Asylum, absolutely fantastic game.
Fantastic.
Gave out away. Kryptonite condoms, fantastic. One thing though, as I remember, I really feel like, and you guys, I'm not a comic book person, so you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I really feel like this. I really feel like this is the game that got people figuring out that Harley Quinn is like hot. or like they made her a hot character in this thing, and that changed how she got drawn and written and stuff like that.
She was always that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like I remember
yeah.
from watching the animated series, she had like the full clothes on, and she just looked like a clown.
She was, dude, go back and look through some of that old. There's like booty shots of Harley Quinn on the 90s animated series, like full on. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think like, you know, Margot Robbie doing that whole thing. I don't think that's a thing if it wasn't for these games.
I mean, she's always been that way though, right? Like she's female villains and heroes in comics are drawn to be essentially just walking sex symbols. They're not really allowed to not be like
watching the Poison Ivy fight.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, this fight was super cool.
I was just saying, like Poison Ivy, like the literal sex symbol of the fucking game.
Yeah, I mean,
she was hot in the movie too.
Yeah,
yeah, she was Uma Thurman.
That's right.
Thurman.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, yeah, fantastic game. If no one here, I think has everybody played it then? That's everybody. Yeah.
No,
solid.
Wait, I don't think I played it.
You haven't played this one?
No, I just played Arkham City.
Ah, okay. Yeah, well, this one's cool in its own way. I think you would actually really appreciate it. Because, yeah, like, Arkham City is kind of just bigger and better in every way imaginable, but this has its own, like, unique charm to it that Arkham City kind of lacks.
This one has a tighter narrative.
Yeah.
The other one is, like, it's broader, it's a sort of sandboxy feel. This one is, it's a tighter narrative, it's a little bit more on rails. Right?
So yeah, it's more of a Metroidvania, kind of like what I was saying. It's a 3D Metroidvania,
right.
whereas
it's not an open world game.
Yeah, whereas, you know, City can be, you know, a bit, you know, it's a smaller open world, but it's still, you know, pretty big. And yeah, like Arkham Asylum does a really good job of, I guess, keeping you on the critical path, I guess would be a way of saying it.
Yeah,
I did play this game. I remember I borrowed it from my cousin, but I played it after I played Arkham City. Because I played Arkham City first. I'm like, man, this game's great, and I wanted more of it. And then I borrowed Arkham Asylum from my cousin, but I didn't beat it though. But
yeah, I'm more of a City guy myself. Asylum's great, but City to me is the best one of the series.
Yeah, there's just so much more comment.
But
yeah. You know, I feel bad. Like, I closed it, but I should have found that one spot where it's like, do you guys remember right before you go fight the boss, like Joker or whatever? And, like, you go over and it's like these guys have been working on the door the whole time with, like, the, you know, making the Joker, like, they've been, like, painting wood and stuff like that. And then you finally go over there at the end of the game and it's all finished. And they're all just standing outside just clapping for you. Like, hey, good job, Batman. Yeah. You guys remember that? Yeah, actually, I can look at my history. Actually, I was looking to say because, like, I remember one little thing they did, and I thought it was super fucking cool. And it's like, it seems so like primitive now, like who cares? But it was just not like you could literally walk through there and not fight any of those guys. Like, they're just like, yeah, have a good time, good. I was gonna ask you, did you guys like fight them all, or did anyone else also just like walk past them?
You know, now that you mention it, now I'm remembering that part. Yeah, I think the first time I fought them all.
Oh, I'm glad he's in character for this. Great. I just love it. Oh, I fought him. I just like the first time I went in, I just was like, all right, let's fucking go. Oh yeah, great game. All right, y'all ready for the next game?
Wait, I just want to throw in one more thing.
Yep.
So part of, I think, what made this game so successful, or at least got people excited to play it, was the fact that a year before this game came out, the Dark Knight movie came out. So people were already like,
the Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight movie, you know, with
the big one.
So everyone was just, you know, hyped up on Batman at that point, and then the game comes out, people play it, and then it's like, oh shit, turns out this game's really good, and then it kind of like took off from there. But that's all I want to say. I think the Dark Knight movie had a big hand in people playing this game.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I never really I never really put all that together. To me, it's just like they're so different. But yeah, that's a good point. I mean, like Batman,
They probably got it greenlit just as a result of the movies being so popular.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean the development times wouldn't have added up for that, right? Like
Yeah,
it came
well,
out. You
that's
said
what
it came
I'm
out the
saying, right?
next year and all that. Like they're probably working
Yeah,
on this
but
game for like 3 years or
yeah,
something like
but
that.
you're talking about the Dark Knight.
The movie?
Yeah, you're talking about the movies versus when this game came out, right?
Yeah, I was like, I don't know, Josh. You said like the Dark Knight movie came out, and then the next year the game came out, right?
Yeah, The Dark Knight came out in 2008, and this game came out in 2009.
Yeah, so it's like I don't think it's
a
like
year and
Dark
some
Knight
change.
came
Dark
out,
Knight-
so they started making a game. I think it just worked out that way.
Yeah, well, what I mean is you had the first movie, Batman Begins, came out in 2005, and there was a movie tie-in game that came out in 2005,
Yep.
right? And
Mhm.
so it was probably that and the popularity of the first movie that were like, you know what, let's do some Batman stuff that's like actually Batman,
You know
and
what's
that
funny?
probably helped get them some green lighting.
I swear there was a Batman Begins game and it sucked. Because I
There
remember
was supposed to be a Dark Knight game, but never came out.
No, there was one that did come out, like G4, like a Attack of the Show, did a review of it.
Oh, it's not great. I didn't. Yeah, it's like
Was
a
it
6 out of 10 or
Attack?
something.
Or no, wasn't Attack of the Show? What was the other one? What's the other G4 show?
Oh
Fucking
shit!
The O'Reilly Factor.
The one with Adam Sessler.
yeah.
Yeah.
See, they did.
Shit, I forgot.
They did this whole thing. Fuck. What game? What show? Let me see G4 if they have it.
It doesn't matter. Game sucks.
Yeah. I just remember they're just like the best Batman game you should.
X-Play.
Yeah, X-Play. Thank you. All right. Well, Batman Arkham Asylum, fantastic game.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna turn this over to the people who have Onimusha 1 on their top 50 list. I think that's Josh and Chris, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Talk
Game
to
is
me
so
about
good.
Onimusha 1, especially the super
Please.
dope opening cutscene.
It's a good game. That's
We're
it.
gonna watch. I just want to watch this cutscene. I can't remember the last time to watch this.
Yeah. And it was like
this
so
is
cool on the
really good for
PS2,
its
dude.
time. Yeah, for
Yeah.
PS2, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to Onimusha because the whole Devil May Cry mechanic where you can hit somebody in the air with a sword. It came from when Hideki Kamiya. He was looking at an early build of Onimusha, and there was a glitch to where sometimes characters, when they were hit with their sword, would float in the air. And he was like, "Oh wait, this could be kind of cool."
Nice.
Yeah, and it was
Little
because
trivia.
of this. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, like, I'm sad that only Onimusha 1 got the re-release or port treatment, because
Yeah, and
for
I
me,
was gonna ask,
Onimusha
how
2
is
is the
port?
one.
How is the port? Is it good?
I mean, I beat it. I think I 100%ed it on PS4. But yeah, I mean, it plays fine. It's about as good as I remember it. Oh, hell yeah! Get that dub. I do remember though when I played on PS4 though, I switched it to Japanese. Yeah, what a classic.
Yeah, so this game is like, I didn't personally, I know this is very sacrilegious in this group, I don't personally enjoy Resident Evil 1 through 3 nearly as much as I love Resident Evil 4. Like, by a massive margin. And it was mostly because I didn't like the feeling of sort of, I felt like I had no agency, you know? This game, because of like the combos and everything else, and like, I felt like I had more ability to sort of control what I did and didn't do. Sort of, like in the same way that, playing Devil May Cry would make you feel that way too. But I liked the sort of samurai aspect stuff a lot more than Devil May Cry. So I was just really into this sort of genre in general.
Yeah.
And then them being like, zombies and all that shit. That's when it got, super crazy.
This
but
part
this
was
game
sick.
had,
Yeah, sick.
but this game had this like really eerie sort of quality to it. Like, all of the levels have these sort of, there's like a moodiness to them that just kind of makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable, like you're not quite sure what's there, in the way that the Resident Evil games have, but obviously more action set based. But all of the sort of set pieces are really pretty in this game. They look really good.
I think they did a really good job balancing like that. Yeah, like how pretty or nice something can look with like, okay, grotesque demon, right?
Yeah.
Like, so it created this interesting contrast. And
I didn't really feel like there's puzzles also in the game, like the puzzle boxes.
Oh god.
And I actually liked the puzzle boxes because I thought they were like interesting. Like, I thought that the puzzle boxes were interesting in the way that they worked. But
well, it's like the puzzle boxes were fine. The one thing though is like there's one part in the game where you play as the female, I forget her name, and then you're like her, and you're running, like you're trying to free Seminosuke, and you have to like go do these puzzles to turn off a lever. And you know what's funny is I was looking at this earlier. The biggest hump in this thing, I'm pretty sure, is that puzzle. Like her having to solve that puzzle or something like that.
Is this the remake?
It's like, yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
or maybe
remastered.
it's not. Or maybe it's not that, maybe it's something else. But yeah, there's that whole thing where this fucking piece of shit. And you have like a timer, and this is like Seminosuke dying on the left side. And it's like, it's so...
this one
we used to die here all the time. This would be a run killer. It's like, it's painful just watching it, man. Ugh. Oh, man. But I mean, it was such a cool idea. I think it's like, it's funny because it's like, it's probably just someone over at Capcom going like, hey, what if we just killed zombies with a sword? Like, should we give like Chris or Jill a sword? Like, hold on. Like, hold that thought, Well,
I remember when this game came out, I remember reading about it in the magazines before it came out, and they were talking about how Capcom wanted to make a game that felt like a movie. So they hired they actually hired like famous Japanese actors who did the voice acting, the CG, like the main character, he's modeled after some famous actor over there, and even in part 2, they have was it John Reno? Yeah, I think John Reno's in part 2.
Yeah, Jean Reno is in the third one.
Or the third one. Yeah, but the thing was like
so satisfying in this game too.
Yeah, it's just supposed to be like a movie.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's just, I don't know. To me, like, this, I'm sad they don't make more of these games, but I'm also glad that they didn't just, like, run it into the ground with, like, generic action game sequel. Because, like, this does have, like, I never actually beat the third one, but first 2 really did, like, the Resident Evil style very well. Like, where it's like, you're always offset, like, it's always like offsettling and stuff like that. And there's a lot of like exploration and puzzle solving, and then turning, going back to where you were now that there's a new door unlocked and stuff like that.
I'm surprised this hasn't gotten the Resident Evil 2 remake treatment. I know everyone kind of wants that, but it's
so good. Yeah.
This is the game. I have not played this. I don't know why I never played it. It would have been something I played at the time. I don't remember why. Maybe I was more into Devil May Cry at the time or something.
I have a lot of memories of not in this section. It's like when they leave here, and they go out to. It's like a water. It's like around the lake.
I don't know where that is.
It keep going. It's further past this. But the last boss fight is this
Are you turning the ogre?
It's like in this arena, like in a pit. No, not this one. It's further back. Good, keep going.
Yeah, I remember that part where it's like fucking.
Oh,
yeah, boss had to kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he went full Onimusha, yeah.
Yeah.
But this boss fight itself, actually, like, they did a good job at, not... Yeah, keep going. There's a...
Oh, like, well, might as well finish this whole part out, yeah. But yeah. Oh, the dub is so bad.
Yeah, I think it's inside this next room. There's like the boss, right?
Yeah. We're gonna run away now, apparently.
Opening boxes, getting medicine.
Yeah, remember me and Dino were on this one because like he got a PS2 pretty early, and so we were just like renting like whatever we could.
I mean, there's a lot of good content.
Yeah, I mean, like, well, early on there, it was like The Bouncer and Gran Turismo 3 and stuff like that. I think this one came out pretty early on too.
It did.
The Bouncer.
I still have a soft spot for the game.
Look, I own it, but it's not great.
But yeah, this game was cool as fuck. It was like emblematic of the time where I think like Capcom's doing really fucking well right now, but this was like peak Capcom to me. Like they're putting out Resident Evil, they're putting out Onimusha, Beautiful Joe, Okami, Monster Hunter. Like
yeah, there's so much good stuff then.
Yeah, like Battle Network and shit like that. Like they were. It was like the last like era of AA games. Now everything else has to be either AAA or like full on indie and stuff like that. But you know what? I want to show. I'm a big Onimusha 2 guy, but that opening cutscene was so cool to me. That's like, I love that fucking thing. I used to just rewatch it.
I like the first one and the third one the most. The second one's my least favorite.
And so it's like the same kind of thing, like where they're like, oh, they're killing people, but then they go like full anime later. Hold on, where is it? I don't even care about this. I just want the fucking anime opening. Yeah, there you go.
Oh yeah, this reminds me of Jade Empire a little bit.
Yeah. And it was cool too, because like you got to play as like 4 different characters, and they all had like different styles and things like that. What a fucking gangster. Yeah, and I remember one of the guys has a gun, and I was like, oh, I get to have a gun in this game.
The gun guy was good though. He was actually pretty fun to play with. There was it's like Onimusha. It's not technically 4. But it's might as well be.
Warlords, or was it? No.
Yeah, some of these guys were in that one. I always forget what that one's called. That one was like kind of
weird fighting game.
No, it was like these sort of. Yeah, it's the gun guy. He's in it too. The technically 4, but not called 4.
It's like, sir, that is not how flintlock pistols work. You do not have multiple shots.
So I just looked it up. This game came out in 2001, right?
Mm-hmm. January 2001.
Yeah.
If you look at the list of 2001 games, oh my god, talk about bangers! There's a shit ton of good, awesome games that came out that year.
Are you talking about Onimusha 2 or 1?
1.
Onimusha 1.
Yeah. What came out that year?
Metal Gear Solid 2, Tony Hawk 3, Devil May Cry, Final Fantasy 10, SSX Tricky, Eco. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that was the year for PS2.
NBA Street, one of my favorites. But Burnout, shit. I think I know why I didn't play it. I don't think I had money.
Yeah, that's why me and Dino used to like, we'd rent, and then we'd also like, I buy this, you buy this. We'd plan it out, and then flop. The good old days. Oh man. Yeah, Onimusha. They need to make more. Fantastic game. All right. Next game up, Modern Warfare 2, an absolute classic. I don't think this made my top 50, but when I was looking up clips for this game, I was like,
the one that came out last year, right?
Fuck off. 2009. This is like the one thing I think Josh shares a sentiment with me, but it's like this is the one shooter. It's like, no, you play this on controller on fucking Xbox. You don't play it on PC with a mouse and keyboard. There's something about the way this one, like 1 and 2, feel, and it's probably just like, you know, it was really big on console at the time, and like PC gaming hadn't had its rebirth yet and stuff like that. But
it felt like it was made for the 360. Like it was just perfect.
Yeah, and I mean, all the fond memories of us getting in the group chat and stuff, and the party chat in Xbox 360.
Yeah, I bought a 360 just for that game.
Oh man, and it's so crazy because I just remember like the Modern Warfare series came out of nowhere, and I remember like I think I talked to Chris Rivera. I think we talked about it before, but it was like yeah, like we were watching, like I was watching Screw Attack, and they went to like a preview event where they played Modern Warfare 1, and Handsome Craig, or as like a Handsome Tom and Stutter Craig were just like, they played it and they were just like looking around like super awkwardly, like, you guys have no idea what's coming. He's like, this is gonna be like one of the best games ever made, like, just, and yeah, it comes out and it's like, holy fucking shit, it's like the most fun fucking shooter ever made.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about it is how, I mean, Call of Duty 3 was, by the time that game was out, it started to become like an actual factor in terms of, you know, like competitive shooters and just like games that gamers were looking to, right? But there was this kind of like what Craig was talking about. There was this like really interesting surge of hype right before the game came out. Where it was like partially organic, but it's, you know, partially PR, right? But yeah, like because people were like looking at this game, they're like, okay, you know, another Call of Duty, but it's modern, okay. And yeah, just like right before the game came out, I just remember there was just like this incredible hype of people that play it. They're just like, holy shit, everyone needs to play this game. And
yeah, and you get your hands on it, it's like fucking crack.
Yeah, I mean the first two Modern Warfares, in my opinion, are pretty legendary games.
Yeah. Did anyone else do like get hyper competitive in this one or anything?
I don't think I was ever hyper competitive with it, but you know, the most notable thing about Modern Warfare 2 and 1 were, if you were a gamer and you had friends that were gamers, everybody was playing this. I don't care what kind of gamer you were playing Modern Warfare.
I didn't.
I also
didn't. You didn't?
That's because you're not a real gamer.
You're not a real gamer.
I'm not a real gamer.
Well, that's the crazy thing about this game too, because older gamers were playing it, and people who weren't gamers played this game. Like people who never played games started playing games because of this. Like everybody was playing it.
Yeah.
Except Chris.
Yeah, I had a friend. That was just, you know.
Yeah, it's like this
anime guy just playing this.
First-person shooters are not my first pick. Like for genre. So, like the ones that I really like are, well, I tend to like third-person shooters a little bit more, and I like stuff that has like weird mechanics or things that are more story-driven.
Oh my god!
Longer campaigns, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
This guy is gonna get it.
But yeah, this game isn't on my list. So
I would say for Modern Warfare 2, the moment that a lot of people talk about is, you know, the campaign mission, no Russian.
No Russian. Yeah.
Because like the first Modern Warfare, at least for me,
is this the one that had you save the guy by the merry-go-round? Is that this one?
No, that's the first one.
Okay, I played the first one.
Yeah, and that actually kind of goes into what I was going to say with Modern Warfare 1, the kind of iconic sequences, you know, getting into the helicopter and the fucking nuke goes off and you survive the nuke and all that shit.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about Modern Warfare 2 is, you know, people were, I think, expecting a larger and bigger and, oh, it's going to be fucking 4 nukes this time, bro. But like the standout mission was no Russian, where it was pretty subversive and obviously like pretty fucked up, especially for its time. And I just remember the first time seeing that mission play out and just being like, wow, like,
yeah,
Infinity Ward, these fucking guys, dude.
And I remember the previews and reviews and stuff coming out, and they're like, "Yeah, there's a mission in this game. You might want to skip." And you boot up the game and it'd be like, "Hey, bro, are you kind of sensitive to stuff? There's a level that's kind of rough. You can skip it if you want." And I'm like, "What?" Like, no, I'm not gonna skip a level. Then yeah, you go no rush and you get out. Oh, there we go. Match is over. But yeah, you would you get out of that fucking elevator and all of a sudden they just start killing all these like civilians and kids and stuff like that. And it's like, and I'm just standing there in shock, like, oh my god, like I can't. Oh no. And like, just like it did make you feel something more than just like, oh hey, this is oh, this is a crazy gory moment. It's like it makes you feel like the horrors of war and like the atrocities of war crimes and shit like that.
Yeah, I would say the one game that basically the whole campaign of that kind of shit was Spec Ops: The Line. I want to give that game a shout out just because, especially like when you compare it to how long ago that game came out to what's still coming out, and it feels like Spec Ops: The Line is almost like the Full Metal Jacket, whereas like Call of Duty is typically like compared to like a Michael Bay movie or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. Modern Warfare 2 was like a fucking movement. It was one of those things where people say like you had to be there, right? Like,
what year did this come out again?
09.
2009.
Yeah, and like it looks really good for 09.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Yeah, this is PC gameplay, so it's not like 360. But yeah, I mean, this is like one of those things where it's like this game enabled you to like create those core memories with your friends. Like some people have it on World of Warcraft, some people have it on Quake, some people have it on Smash Brothers, but it was like for me it was like playing Modern Warfare 2. It was like, it was crazy. We would have like 8 people on. Like I'd get like Josh and Dino and random people I met and our friend Alex and Mike and all these people we never played games with ever again. But man, just, I don't know, just like the pinnacle of like at the time, just really perfecting how good a shooter could feel.
Yep.
And it's like, and it's crazy that like, this was all going on and like, I don't know, it's I don't know. I'm having a thought that doesn't really make sense.
That's another thing that we should talk about too. How this game like changed the way that that the controls should be like in a first-person shooter if you're using a controller.
Yeah, the Call of Duty series essentially standardized first-person controls and third-person controls, I guess, for shooters. With aiming down sights with your left trigger and then right trigger shooting. Because there was other games that had similar mechanics, but it would be like, I think like Medal of Honor, I think you had to like, the PS2 one, I think you had to click down the left stick to aim down sights, and it was all kind of variable, but COD essentially standardized that for first-person shooters.
Yeah.
Yeah, because after this game came out, every other shooter after copied its controls, like its control scheme. I remember, playing Halo before this game came out felt fine. I never felt a problem with Halo. Then I played COD, and then go back to Halo, and I go, holy shit, these controls on Halo feel dated and clunky.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it didn't make me realize, or it made me realize like what I was missing.
Yeah, well, it's funny because it's like Halo comes out and like has its own little revolution, like with like console shooters and stuff like that, really showing that it can work. And then Call of Duty comes out, iterates on it, really even like polishes it even more. And then like I remember when Halo 4 came out, they add a sprint button or the ability to sprint because of this game.
I think Reach was the first one where you can have like an optional ability to have sprint, right? And then 4, they just added it by default.
And it was also the aiming down the sights was a thing that Halo copied off of this, right?
Yeah. Oh, you can actually do that in Halo?
I believe a couple of weapons, yeah, you can.
Yeah, I'll say the last one I ever played was like
down
Reach.
the sights in the original one.
No.
Oh wait, you're right. The battle
Only
rifle,
like the
right?
sniper rifle.
Yeah.
The battle rifle.
No, battle rifle you can't either.
Yeah,
In
with
Halo
some
1.
weapons, you would. I think in Halo, it was the right stick you would have to click in to either zoom with a sniper rifle or aim down sights like a pistol or whatever.
No, it was like the pistol. You could do like the scope, just like a sniper rifle. But if you had a weapon like the assault rifle equipped, it would just do binoculars. Like you wouldn't be able to shoot, and it would definitely wouldn't do this. Like I'm 100% on that one. But yeah, Modern Warfare 2. Anyone else have some memories and things to share?
But it just didn't go. It didn't have an actual scope. It just like got closer. It was like I could have sworn. No, I could be wrong.
Yeah, well, even then, like a scope is like it's one thing to have like a scope for like a big sniper rifle or something like that, but it's another thing to be like, I'm gonna like quickly do this while maintaining some kind of movement and stuff like that, and be able to in and out. Like the snappiness of this game is just fucking unmatched by any other shooter, except for like modern stuff like Apex or something like that.
I just want to say I hated this game.
Is it because all your friends wanted to play it and you didn't want to play it?
It's because you know how you're saying like tons of gamers played this game, but it also got people who weren't gamers to play as well. All the people I knew who played this game were not gamers, so I was like, y'all are fake. This is like the game for normies. I was like
I was in the games before it was.
You're pulling a full Craig.
I was an edgy hipster.
Just gonna say that.
Yeah.
A gaming hipster.
Yep.
Let me tell you why it's okay to like this, but not okay to like this. You get Craig canceled. Yeah. I don't know, but I would be totally down just one night if we just go on Steam, grab yourself a $4 copy of this old ass game, and go online and fuck around. Get owned by people who never stopped playing it over the past like 14 years.
Yeah.
Oh, those people exist. Yeah.
Yeah. Look at this shit. Modern Warfare 2. Incredible. Dude. All right. What's that? Does anyone want to take a stretch, grab a drink, use the restroom or anything? You should just keep on grinding.
Gatorade.
Yeah, I'm gonna go grab a drink real quick.
Cool.
I was going to give a shout out to.
Jesus.
I'm trying to remember if it was. I think it was IdTech 3 or no, IdTech 2. The Quake 2 engine is basically what Call of Duty. They like modified IdTech 2 and have been iterating on it like ever since.
Remember, was it World at War Nazi Zombie?
Oh man, the original Nazi zombies where you're in that house.
Yeah.
So good. Once they started doing more with it, I lost interest. But just the original one, where it's you and a friend stuck in a house and you're just trying to not die.
Yeah.
It was fun.
And it's like this. No one liked they were doing the parallel development where they were doing like modern game and old game, and it's like nobody wanted to play the old shit after the new one came out.
You know what, dude? I actually liked World at War. I think World at War was
a good story.
Dude, I loved World at War. I know I'm like
It had
I know people hated it, but dude, that game was fun. I like the story, the characters.
Yeah.
Even like the style, the way they told the story, like it was kind of comic book style.
It had really good multiplayer maps. I remember there was that one beach map that was fucking great. And ultimately, it was a nice little switch up after having Modern Warfare. You have World at War, and they're like, dude, check out the sick ass like flamethrower effects. And I don't know, I thought it was dope.
Yeah. That was cool. Did they have that other map? I remember there's one like where it got to like the final maps or whatever. World of War Zombies Dare play. I think this is it. Maybe. Yeah, I think it was. This is like where this was the map where it's like this was the pinnacle. I think this was the last one they made or added on. But yeah, it was fucking sick. It's like at that point you were setting traps, you were buying like guns with power-ups and getting multipliers and all that. Like
the Black Ops 2 zombies mode was pretty dope. It was kind of goofy because it was like you're like going back in time or some goofy shit, but it was good.
Now remember that you go to the vending machine, spend your money, get the upgrades. Yeah, I do remember though that this one like there was no balancing for having a party or not. So it's like if you try to do the solo, it was like fucking super hard. Good old Nazi zombies though. Man. Yeah, I was trying to figure out if it was like, did I get old? And like when I stopped liking this, but like, or is like, because it was the same thing like the Mass Effect multiplayer, like when they made what was that terrible game?
Let's talk about Mass Effect multiplayer. Oh well, it's on the list. We'll get there.
It is. Yeah. But like, yeah, I remember when like they did the one for Andromeda, and it's like you could jump around and do all the shit, but at that point I was like, nah, it's not the same.
A little bitty ding. It's not the same.
It's not the same.
Ding 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 ding. Ding 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 ding. It's the same, dude.
Man. Yeah, it's funny, like 360 games, 360 era games have like held zero value. It's like, man, I could go. I feel like though the 360, like I still have like the good Elite, but like I feel like you could go back and hook all that shit back up and it would still feel really good to play. Just depends how clunky the UI is.
Yeah,
I think that's the same for a lot of games of that
Yeah.
kind.
Yeah, PS3 is like almost unplayable, especially if you try to access the PlayStation Store. It's like they did like the iPhone thing, right? Where it's like they keep upgrading the online services and what they need, and like all these other things, and then
the machine
but
can't handle it.
Yeah, the machine just stops being able to do it. Yeah. All right. Nazi zombies. How do you feel about Nazi zombies, Jose?
Don't like them. Nazis or Nazi zombies?
Nazi zombies.
I never played too much of that mode. Wasn't a huge fan of that. By the time that came out, I was kind of over COD.
Gotcha. Fair enough. I remember when COD 3 came out, or Modern Warfare 3 came out. It's like I wanted to do the campaign to see the campaign, but I was like multiplayer. I was like, I did that already.
Yeah.
All right. Did I add it? Not. Yeah, I did. Okay, cool. Next on the list, what a classic, Mortal Kombat 2.
My God.
And I stopped this right here so you can see the cool intro. I just remember being at like the arcades and seeing this shit.
See, here's the thing about Mortal Kombat 2. Mortal Kombat 1
is a video game.
It's a video game. And Mortal Kombat 1 mostly got by on just kind of the general shock value and whatnot. But Mortal Kombat 2 is when it started to come into its own as like an actual good-ass game.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. What's everybody's memory of seeing this at the arcade for the first time? I just remember it being a huge deal when it came out in the arcade. It was probably like the loudest cabinet in there.
Mm-hmm.
Just but it sounded so cool, and it looks so next gen. It just looked way. I don't know if it's. I haven't compared the two recently, but to me it looked way better than Mortal Kombat 1.
Yeah.
Graphically, I just remember being blown away.
Yeah, I was at my cousin's birthday. He had it at like this crazy Chuck E. Cheese that was like 2 stories and it was like massive. But I remember going there and it was up in the 2nd floor and I'm just like, whoa, there's a Mortal Kombat 2? And like you said, super fucking loud. All the shit is booming. Like Shao Kahn's laughing and it's like super intimidating. And I'm just like sitting there and wonder like, oh my god, this is the fucking coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. and people are off doing fatalities, knocking him into the pool of acid and all that. He's about to
Yeah, I
get
was just gonna
cheesed.
say
Like,
the
if you
first time I ever
watch-
played this game.
Look at him. Fuck
Sorry.
that guy.
Yep. Yeah, the first time I ever played it in the arcade was this level, and the AI knocked me into the pool of acid, and I was
Rocco.
just like, dude, this is the best game ever made.
I remember like seeing this game and thinking like,
Fucking
oh my god, this is
cheap
pinnacle
ass
game,
AI.
like video game. Look at how realistic everything looks. Like I can see that guy's abs. I remember thinking that as like, what year did this come out? It's like 94,
92,
92.
93 maybe.
I want to say like 94ish in the arcade, 93. Let me look it up.
So Justin, I know you didn't get to play a lot of games when you were a kid, but like, did you ever get to like, go outside, go to the arcades, or go to the mall and see something like
93,
this?
yeah. So I was 10 when this came out,
Nope.
So that's
and it was like
No.
a big deal. We were not allowed to. I was not allowed to play this one.
Same.
oh yeah,
Yeah. My parents
Yeah.
were
and that was the weird thing.
concerned
It was
about
like,
the violence, but like watching it now, it's like it's whatever.
boom, they gotta hold down to make him fall down too. That was like one of the secrets. But
On both controllers.
yeah, so many secrets in this game. That was the thing too. It's like they did so many weird little secrets that was so cool. It's like, did you guys ever do the thing where you're playing on Super Nintendo at your friend's house and it's like you guys do the 50 matches in a row and it's like, okay, now I can fight Noob Saibot, but after the 50th match we both have to all like start or something like that.
Yeah, wasn't there? I'm trying to remember if it was this game or MK3 where you could play Pong.
Yeah, it was this one.
Okay, yeah, 'cause I remember doing that.
I think
like,
3 had Galaga.
Okay, that sounds about right. Yeah, so I remember doing like, was it like 250? It was just something like crazy consecutive wins, and then you get to play one round of Pong.
I do remember that. I don't think we ever actually did that because we weren't that fucking crazy.
Does anybody remember the stupid like GamePro rumors that'd be like, it'd say something like, if you beat Mortal Kombat 2 with flawless victories on everybody, it turns into Street Fighter or something. Do you guys remember?
No.
And kids are actually trying it.
Yeah, it's sort of like Mario 64, how there was that whole like, oh yeah, if you do whatever, you're gonna get.
How do you unlock Luigi?
Yoshi or yeah.
And then it ended up being like one of those like April Fool's jokes, but
It's like an urban myth. Yeah.
Like how
But
to fight
everybody was trying
Akuma and stuff like that. I gotta defeat Shenlong. That was a mean combo. I gotta do that next time. Yeah, knock 3 off. Yeah.
We got to mention Toasty.
Oh yeah.
Of
Good old
course,
Toasty.
yeah.
Which dev was that? I forget.
It wasn't Ed Boon, and it wasn't the Tobias guy. It was some other guy that was on the team. But when you would land an uppercut, every once in a while, a picture of the developer would show up in the bottom right hand of the corner, and you would yell out Toasty. And if that happened during that one level where there's like
up and
portals,
start, right?
Exactly. There's like these fucking floating wizards and cloaks and shit, and some portals. And yeah, you would press up and start when you would say Toasty, and
You fight Smoke.
yeah, you would fight Smoke. And then in this level, there was a way where you would fight. Was it Reptile?
Yeah, I think it's Reptile on this level.
Well, Reptile's in the game.
Oh yeah, Reptile is in the game.
Is he?
Yeah.
It's part 1 where he's a hidden character.
Oh, that's
There you
right.
go.
That's
On
right.
the pit.
Yeah, bottom of the pit, so it's spelled backwards.
Yeah,
Was
yeah,
it
there he
hidden?
is, I think.
Yeah, there was
this
with the
game.
haunted
So-
forest.
was
or
it
whatever there
Jade?
was. Maybe it was Jade. Yeah. But yeah, there was a hidden character fight in the haunted forest or whatever the hell it was called.
This is like the most frustrating thing I've ever seen. Just fucking invisible AI like scum throwing you fucking everywhere. What a piece of shit. Oh, I hate it. But yeah, I mean that talking about that goes along with like one of the things that's like Mortal Kombat was so fucking famous for how cheap its AI was.
Oh yeah.
Especially at the arcades. And it's like you go on like YouTube and stuff like that. There's so many videos like how to beat the AI because it's just doing like that's where I learned the term input reading, Where it's just like it's just waiting for a button press. It doesn't care what you're doing. It doesn't try to do anything on its own. It's just waiting for you to press buttons. Oh man, but yeah, it's just such a fucking pinnacle, like such an influential game for its time and stuff like that. Like you said, Chris, like just taking something that was just shock value and making it like a fucking like, no, we made a real fucking game. This is awesome. You're gonna love to play it.
Well, and then not only that, they actually doubled down on the shock value because there's all kinds of negative press at the time. You couldn't go, a day, in the early 90s without seeing some kind of news report about Doom or Mortal Kombat. But then Mortal Kombat 2 comes out, and there's literally just like bucketfuls of blood coming out.
Knocking 3 heads off.
Yeah. So not only did they double down on the gore, they, like I said before, they, made it a better game. They
do it.
Legit.
Do it. Yes. This is the thing that drove me crazy. Oh, that shit for me when I was a kid, I was like, oh my god.
And this is the one that kind of made Nintendo change their tune, right? They kind of reversed their blood policy because of this game.
Yeah, on Super Nintendo, they put they didn't have a rating system, but they did have like some kind of warning on the box.
Right.
And
no blood, right?
Gore, Mortal Kombat 2.
Not on Mortal Kombat
gore.
1. Yeah, like I remember it was a thing on Genesis. There was the blood codes, like ABA, CABA.
Well, the thing that happened was that the Genesis version sold like 3 times as much as the Super Nintendo version, and Nintendo
because
was like,
they had blood.
Exactly. Yep.
So Nintendo's like, fuck that.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, because at the end of the day, Nintendo was making like $12 per copy sold of any game that was sold on Super Nintendo. So they saw that as lost money. They're like, yeah, okay, blood's cool.
Yeah.
I remember and I remember one of the craziest things was like when you see this game, you're like, wait, you can play Shang Tsung? Yeah.
Yep.
Can you transform at everybody? Yeah.
You're like, oh, wait a second, I get to play the boss from the last game. That's so cool.
But not only that, you could literally transform into everybody with no restrictions. Like, that was huge.
I mean, it's kind of what made him so cheap in this game.
Yeah.
That's why I
I don't know
love
if
him so
he's
much.
cheap, because it just means he can turn into someone else, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you're playing
yeah.
against other people, it's going to be cheap when you're playing against other people because if you're well versed enough in the game, you can just completely change your play style based upon the person that you're playing against, right? So, like, your opponent, it's sort of like a big game of rock, paper, scissors. Like, some opponents are slightly better against other opponents, right? It's mostly well balanced, but there's a little bit of rock, paper, scissors stuff, right? So if you could just change forms, you just change into the form that, puts you at paper to his rock.
Yeah. But I think it also demanded a bit more skill.
Oh, I'm not saying it didn't. 100% it did. But I just meant that.
Yeah,
Like,
at the end of the day, it's just
you to use that.
It's just really cool. It's just really cool that they did that in the first place because it was back then when people didn't really obsess over game balance. There's like, hey, there's this really cool shit we can do, and I was like, yeah, okay, let's do it.
Kintaro never does this shit when I'd fight him. Just stand there, take jump kicks.
Probably playing on easy.
Yeah, man. Great game. Even this stuff where it's like you got Sonya and Kano in the background. And it's like, you could tell like the team that made this were just having a fuck ton of fun. They were doing whatever they could think of. They were getting super creative. It's just like passion. Just, oh man.
Yeah, because you also got to think about that it kind of took, a bit of balls to not have Kano or Sonya be playable characters. And
when you already had everything ready for them.
Exactly, and then you go to Mortal Kombat 3, and they did the same thing with the first release, where Scorpion wasn't playable. They changed Sub-Zero to not have a mask. They changed his moves up. That's
yeah,
one
but
thing.
no masking is like a big deal.
Yeah, and that's really cool because it didn't necessarily work, but they were willing to take risks. They're like, all right, we'll do some crazy shit, and if it doesn't work, we'll bring him back in, Mortal Kombat
Ultimate.
trilogy or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think the biggest risk they ever took was not putting Scorpion in MK3. Like,
Yep.
I remember that thing coming out. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's like Street Fighter without Ryu.
They're like, yeah, we got these 3 robots though.
You do get
We're legitimately
Cyrax.
dope. Like, but it was like if you wanted the robot, yeah, right. Smoke had the spear and everything, but it's like you had to he was like a secret character that you had to do a
Well, it's
special
like
thing. to
Reptile
unlock.
was the secret character in this one, right?
No, it's like that's the thing. Like, so there was no like permanently like unlockable character, right? Whereas like Mortal Kombat 3, that was Smoke. You could permanently unlock him for the cabinet. But yeah, I think it's like in this game you could just fight Smoke, you could just fight Jade and Noob Saibot. I don't think you'd actually play as them.
Well, like, yeah, Noob Saibot, right?
Noob Saibot, yeah. Great game. Yeah, a lot of crazy arcade memories. Very important game for its time. Anyone else got some Mortal Kombat 2 memories to share? Who's your guys' main character? And is everybody just gonna say Sub-Zero?
Scorpion.
Yeah.
For me, it was actually Baraka for a really long time,
Yeah, same.
and then I went back to Johnny Cage.
God damn it, we're the same person. Every fucking time.
I mean, I'm the
Same
same
person.
way, right? Obviously, Mortal Kombat 2
I was-
Baraka real life. Honestly, because I remember the pictures of like the actor in the thing, and that like drove me crazy. Baraka actor.
I was a Shang Tsung guy, but just to turn into Sub-Zero.
See, the nice thing about Johnny Cage in that game is you can do the low fireball and the high fireball, and you can spam the fuck out of people, and then you follow it up with a shadow kick. Great.
Yeah, okay, never mind. I guess I can't find it. I remember seeing in magazines like Nintendo Power, and like it's like when they were doing the motion capture, and you'd see like the Baraka costume, and it was like I remember the thing was like they were saying like yeah his teeth are like those really long press-on nails, and they would just stick it to his teeth.
Oh, wow.
Man. Yeah.
That's crazy.
But it was cool, like all of the special effects. But yeah, I was the same way. I loved Baraka when the game came out, but then yeah, I switched to Johnny Cage later on in life. Oh man. All right, I don't have a lot of love for Borderlands 2, but I would love to hear a conversation about it.
This game is so good.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know Josh, you played the shit out of it too.
Actually, I think I played a lot of this. Well, I played some of this with you, actually.
Me?
Yeah.
I barely ever played this game, dude.
I know, but I did play it with you when you like the 5 minutes that you played it.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then there's a friend of mine that who originally got me into WoW, who's in the Air Force, and him and I played a ton of this game together. I really like the Borderlands games. At least I played the first 2 a lot, and I really liked the way that the classes in this one felt like super different, and so how you chose to play was like way all over the map. It's not like, it's sort of like what I was saying before about first person shooters, where it has to have some sort of like a weird component, like story or play style or something. So like one of these guys, like, you get to pull out double guns and blast the shit out of stuff, or you get to go stealth, or um you know it just the way that the Borderlands combat was, just in general, kept it interesting. But then you had infinite amount of guns that you could find, and there was no sort of rhyme or reason for what you would find, and you never really knew what was going to be good. Sometimes you would find something that was garbage, and sometimes you would find something that was incredible, and you'd keep it forever. or it had like a weird component to it. Like there's the shotgun that's like a wave shotgun from the first one that I always remember. Um, that wasn't that great, but the effect on it was like useful enough that you keep it for a really long time. But the writing in this game is really funny. So it was like, okay, you've got all of
Yeah.
these cool components with the way that the game plays. The combat's really fun. You can sort of pick up, pick out with friends whenever you want, without really any real restrictions on that.
Yeah, there it is.
And then the writing was also funny that you were sort of entertained as you went. Like there's always little dialogue in the back from Jack or from Claptrap or whoever. There's all these like weird little like interactions with some of the NPCs that are really interesting. Um, like the guys would just like yell stuff out at you, like, "Look, this gun is like poison," right? Um, and so some of them are fire, and some of them are. And so like you would pick different weapons based upon kind of what your need was,
Yeah.
and so you couldn't necessarily play each area the same. Um,
See, my problem with it was that like you didn't get like to say like, hey, I want to be like, you know, the big sniper guy. Like you could hold on a sniper rifle and do the sniping, but like at the end of the day, it's like whatever your strongest gun was basically what you used. Probably have one short and one long range. And then like you'd get stuff where it's like, I don't like this, but it's so much better than anything else I have. I have to use it.
Yeah, I think I'm one of the very few people in the world that actually likes Borderlands 1 more than you.
Fuck yeah, you are.
I'm there with you.
Thank you.
I like
I'm
the first one
glad
better.
there's at least one other person in the world. And
I enjoyed both of them. I liked the last boss in Borderlands 1 a lot. I thought that was actually really cool.
yep,
It's sort of
yeah.
like this big, Cthulhu, sort of like from World of Warcraft.
Oh, wasn't it like the whole thing in the first game was like, you gotta get in the vault, and then you
Yeah,
don't go into the
and so,
vault or something like
no. So like the whole thing in the first game is like the vault, right?
that?
And then you get to the vault, and it's a big fucking monster that's in the vault. And it turns out the vault is like a
Yay!
box that like contained this all-encompassing evil,
It was like
right?
Pandora's box.
Yeah, basically. It's Pandora's box. You're on Pandora, right?
Hey, all right, I learned something.
But yeah, I mean, I think I played the beginning of Borderlands 2, I think 3 different times. And I don't know, it just didn't stick with me the way the first game did. And I'm also really easily annoyed by like chattiness. And I think Borderlands 2 took the chattiness up like 2 notches after the first game.
Yep.
I liked all the dialogue from this one.
Well, yeah,
I
I
thought it
mean,
was really funny and clever. I personally liked it a lot.
yeah, when reviews came out for 1 and 2, it was like 1 was kind of chastised because it was so quiet, and it was like
Well, the
it felt
thing was,
dead.
is
And then 2
the
came out, and people were just like,
yeah,
"This game is so fucking funny. I love it. It fixed the only problem with 1."
that some people didn't like, but I mean, I get it.
Yeah, and I think
The
the other
development
problem
for
that I
these
had
games was
with
really interesting too, though.
the other issue I guess I had with 2 is that it felt like it was always just kind of like, hey, we're throwing more enemies at you now. Whereas like the thing I liked about Borderlands 1 is that there were like quite a few missions, but they were all like 15, 20 minutes long, give or take. Whereas a lot of times when I was playing Borderlands 2, it just felt like this mission in particular is actually, this one's pretty early in the game. I just remember playing this and being like, dude, I fucking get it. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I liked what this game represented. Like, hey, this is like a loot shooter. This is like something co-op, big story. You can play through your friends. Really awesome co-op experience and stuff. But I didn't like the implementation. Like, I'm not a fan of like the gun system and stuff like that. I didn't feel like the classes had enough variety going on to them. It's like each class was essentially the same, except there was like a talent tree. You'd have different passives, and then you'd have the one move. And ultimately, it's falls in the same criticism I have of Destiny. Where it's like this could be so much more, but I mean,
felt like
uh,
I put in, I don't know, maybe about 120, 150 hours on this game, which is a substantial amount of time to put in. And I beat the game with all of the different characters. And if you actually kind of fuck around with them, they play very differently. So like it's more like, especially as you fill out their talent trees, like the stealth guy Zero is just, he plays so different than what is that, the guy with the dual wielding gun guy, I always forget his name.
big guy, Buzz, Frank, America Man.
He dual wields, he uses like 2 rifles.
Oh, I don't know.
But at any rate, like they all play super differently from each other, to the point that it does feel like a different game, and so how you play the game is going to vary. Kind of in the same way that the Mass Effect games feel very different if you're going to play with, you know, a stealth character or a Vanguard, or like especially Mass Effect 3 where the classes are so different. This felt a little bit like that too. Like there were levels that I played the entire level stealth. I would just stealth and backstab and sniper shot. And I did all of the encounters that way. And then other ones you go in guns blazing and you're blowing shit up and tossing grenades everywhere. So I in my case, like I played so much of this, and I had a really interesting experience playing through it multiple times. So
Yeah, Josh, I think this is like one of like this came out around the time where it's like maybe it was like when I was dating Jenny or something like that, and then like you guys, I remember it was like you and the boys were playing this a lot, right?
Oh yeah, we played the shit out of it. We would start playing together, beat it, and as soon as we beat it, start all over again and keep playing again. Pick different characters, try different things. I don't know. Everything just lined up at that moment. It wasn't just the game. It was when the game came out. Like nerd culture was also like at this like fucking pinnacle too. And
where it was starting to be okay to be nerdy.
Exactly. Yeah. And then like conventions were really starting to pop off. So you'd go to conventions and everyone's like talking about the game, or, saying lines from the game, cosplaying from the game. And it was just, I don't know. It kind of like how it was when Overwatch came out. Like, remember when Overwatch came out? Like,
Yeah.
everybody was fucking playing it. Everywhere you went, people were talking
So
about
much
it.
cosplay,
And, yeah, it was just one of those things where the planets were just lined up right. So, I mean, yeah, the game's great. It's fun. But I think it's just like it's the entire picture. Like if you step back and look at everything going on during that time, that kind of just cemented it for me, like
right.
in my brain.
For me, I think the thing, and this kind of goes a little bit to one, but two also is part of this. So if I don't know if you guys remember, but when the Xbox 360 very first came out, the trailer for this was this like hyper realistic sort of gritty Mad Maxy thing.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You can go look it up. It
Mhm.
was way different. It was like it took itself super serious, and then it just kind of sat on hiatus, and a bunch of shit happened in the development cycle, and they decided to go with this cell shaded look that was like very unique. You know, it wasn't really something that was really getting used that often, and especially not in the way it was used here. And so the initial trailer looked so different, and then the first
Yeah.
game came out with that "Ain't No Rest for the Wicked" song in the bus.
Yeah.
And that was so freaking iconic, and it just completely set the tone for this, basically this like whole different sort of world and genre that we were just kind of not really, I think, prepared for. And then the second game was like, we just took everything that you liked and we just took it to 11. And
Was
then
that
there's the
song like was that the first game or the second game?
That was the first one.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember like getting one. I own both of them, pretty sure, on 360. But yeah, I remember getting there and like, oh, that's a cool little song. This game's gonna have a lot of attitude, and then it just ended up being kind of like way too quiet. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it does. It felt kind of lonely. Is I
Yeah.
guess the way to put it.
I liked it. I thought it was like I think it's like kind of like people were talking about earlier, Arkham Asylum versus Arkham City, where I feel like one was a lot more. I don't want to say like streamlined or like elegant, you know, but it was definitely like just a different
More
vibe.
deliberate.
Tighter experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas this is like, yeah, the levels are a lot bigger and it's a lot more like chaotic and there's a lot more like, you know, like the levels are a lot more open. And I think it's just like you know, it's a preference thing. I think, for me
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah, I feel you. You know, I mean, I'm classic for loving open world games, right?
It's your favorite genre.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say this though. You know, even though I prefer the first game over the second game, the one thing that they really did very well with the second game was just kind of like expand on terms of like the art style. Kind of like what Chris was touching upon is that, you know, the first game originally was going to be like the super fucking bland,
Yeah.
generic Gears of War style. Everything's fucking drab and has like 4 colors. And Borderlands 2, I think they took the art style to the next level. You know, in terms of like, you know, variety and
It
just
just feels alive. Like this
yeah,
world looks and feels alive.
yep, yeah. The world design is really good, and that's something that, you know, I mean, you have to give this game credit for, is that they took that whole aspect to the next level. Game design wise, it didn't click with me as much, but you know, visuals and all that stuff, they definitely set that shit up.
Yeah. Did anyone ever play like any like the what is that fantasy one? It was like Tiny Tina's Wonderland or whatever.
Yeah, it was an add-on to the second one.
Was it?
Oh well, oh no,
Well, that's the new one.
that's the new one that came out. But there was an add-on to the second game. It's like a big expansion that was basically it was like a RPG board game kind of, but it was essentially it was the same play style. You were just in a weird fantasy setting, and that was hilarious. It was super funny. That character is really good in the second game. She's really well written. Um, and it was kind of one of those things where people thought Tiny Tina was so funny that they just wanted more Tiny Tina. So they thought, well, what if you kind of got sucked into her brain? And then that's the whole idea of that expansion,
Yeah.
which is just
It was
bonkers, really.
the assault on Dragon Keep.
Yeah. I was just wondering how it was. Like if you know if there's it's not guns, right? So like what did you do?
No, it's still
Like,
guns. Yeah.
oh, I thought it was like a fantasy RPG. How's there guns?
No, so it was like that's the story she was telling. It was like I take off my wizard hat and robe. Like so she's like telling this story of like this fantasy whatever, but it's actually you acting it out like with guns and stuff. It's kind of bonkers, but it's pretty funny.
All right.
Yeah, I was just like I wondered if that was cool because it's like I'd like to see what else they can do with the formula. You know, like because like the loot and shoot, running, gunning, exploring, getting quests, getting loot. That's all good. That sounds fun. This guy just killed himself, I guess. But I was like, so no one actually played like the full on the newer game or anything?
I the last console I had was a 360. So
Yeah, well, it's obvious on PC, right? But
well, so like okay, my gaming
okay, so
path
it's also a gun.
was, yeah, kind of different. So
all right, never mind. It's just a gun.
yeah, well, that's why it was so funny because it's like you're shooting skeletons and shit with swords, but you got a gun.
Yeah. Did you guys ever play Vermintide?
No.
Vermintide was cool. Vermintide to play. Dino bought it for me because he really wanted me to play with him. But it's basically like what I thought that was. Where it's like Left 4 Dead, but you're it's medieval. Okay, of course I get to the guy with the pistols, right? Like fucking, but like there's like tanks and fucking other classes and shit like that. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I think it's like what I imagine that to be. Hard to find good gameplay on the fly though. But yeah. All right, so that's Borderlands 2. We're coming up on almost 2 hours. You guys think it's a good time to cut it out?
Let's keep going.
I'm okay to keep going.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, last time we cut it at 2, so I want to.
We're at 140.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So
I say
like
we finish this like section.
Whew.
Inscription and call it a day.
Keep it rolling, boys.
All right, let's see what we got. I might have to get
We'll
more
do it live.
All right, cool. Well,
You need a piss bottle? You need a minute? You okay?
Overwatch.
Get this game out of here.
Launch day. I want to see if I can find some launch day videos because that's like
Back when it was good.
Overwatch
didn't play
gameplay
Overwatch.
launch day streamed 7 years ago. Ew, on consoles?
That's the best place to play it.
Yeah. I
Switch.
remember on your Switch. We'll start your Switch. And I remember this I wasn't super interested in this, but like I was playing WoW at the time, I think, or or I had the launch, or maybe I was playing something, and it's like, hey, the like beta's out, like you want to play the beta? And I was like, sure. And I turned it on, I'm like, oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. And I was like, this game is so fucking fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I played the beta until I couldn't anymore, and I was telling everybody I could, I was like, you gotta get down on this. You gotta fucking get down on this. It's so good.
Yeah, I remember the first actual gameplay footage I saw of this. I wasn't completely sold on it, but at this time, you have to go back in the time machine. It was at the point to where, in my opinion, Blizzard basically had carte blanche.
Yep.
I was looking at it as going, okay, these people, they do nothing but hit fucking home runs. And they're
Is
giving
that
us
Legion that came out then, too, for WoW?
Legion? I
Yeah.
don't know what year that was, but that probably lines up.
But yeah, at this point, Blizzard couldn't do no wrong. They're a very consumer, fan-friendly company, and they go, okay, here's this thing that we took.
It is, same year. That makes sense.
They're like, hey, here's this canceled MMO that we were working on that we turned into a competitive shooter. And
we just took the scrap and made a fucking hit.
yeah. And I remember Craig definitely was hyping it up. And then when it actually came out, I was like, all right, benefit of the doubt, I'll buy it. And I played it pretty much nonstop for, I don't know, probably 2 weeks straight.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time, it was something that, I mean, it seems kind of cliche now, but the hero shooter was, they're taking things from MOBAs and they're taking things from competitive shooters and they're melding it together, and they somehow nailed it on the first try. Like everybody was playing this game when it came out. It was a really interesting time in gaming. So like it felt like it was just before that cusp before like microtransactions and everything became super predatory in every single fucking game.
Yeah.
It felt like one of the like last pure I guess like multiplayer shooter type of games.
Yeah. Well, and do you remember how much it was when it came out? It's like they did this cool thing where you could buy the base model for like $30, and then you could buy like fancier models for like 40 and 60.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so cool for doing that.
Yep.
I don't remember that.
Yep.
I just remember I was like, I remember it's like I think I took the next day or two off from work, and I was
same here.
Sitting at home like waiting for it to launch, like thirsting Like I just could not fucking wait to get into that game.
Do you remember when it first came out? You were able to do an entire team of the same character.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just hella Torbjorns with fucking hella turrets everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah. And that was the thing I loved about like the beginning, where it's like he's playing as a Bastion in here. He got another Bastion in there. It's like people didn't know how to deal with Bastion, so like he was super broken. You're like, oh my god, and then like you get like 2 weeks into it, it's like, okay, I get it. I'll just snipe him, whatever, like shoot rockets at him.
That's the other thing I missed too. Like with the first few weeks when it came out, nobody, the game was new, so nobody mastered it yet.
Yeah.
So everyone was kind of like on this like equal playing ground, and it was just fun. There was no competitive edge to it yet because everyone was still trying to figure out the game. So you just go in and just fuck around and have fun.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was a magical time.
I wanted to hate this game so bad. I was like, Blizzard making a first-person shooter. Like, what did they do? They have no business making a first-person shooter. Let me try this piece of crap. Oh, damn. It's kind of fun.
Shit.
And I was addicted to it for a long time. I'm off it now, but my niece, she's 17 and she loves this game. She still plays it.
Oh, that's cool.
Hey Justin, were we hanging out, or like were you and IT? Were we and IT together talking about this game? Back when I used to try to do competitive.
Oh yeah, we both went.
We used to duo.
Yeah, we used to do a lot.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, we had some games where it's like me and him would get together and we just get salty super fast.
Mm-hmm.
And then like me and him did a thing where like we got into a match and we're just immediately like it felt like the team was throwing. We're like, fuck this. And so like Justin's like, I'm gonna play a dumb bullshit character. I'm like, yeah, me too. And then we ended up like just destroying the other team. Like, it was super weird. I was like, apparently I can snipe. That's cool. But yeah, I remember we used to, for a little bit, we were getting groups together to play full like 5 or 6 man matches. That was fun.
Yeah.
I remember one night I was playing this game pretty early after launch, and I got matchmaked with Dan Reichert, and I ended up.
No way.
I ended up playing a few rounds with him and was chatting with him. Yeah, it was pretty funny.
That's cool, man. Oh, look at all this. Soldier 76 and stuff. And I remember one of the biggest things about this game too was that like it was doing all these things like this is gameplay. I like just wanted to see like the cinematic trailers and stuff like that. Like
they're doing it with they're doing the trailer specific or the hero specific trailers. And yeah.
Yeah, and they were building a fucking world. And it was like I remember the possibilities of this at the time. It rivaled what like Marvel was doing. Where it was like they were building a cinematic universe, and it felt like if they fucking did anything at all with the story and the lore, anything with single player content, it's like people were so drawn into it, so sucked in. It was like it was super easy. Like the world they created was fascinating and full of possibility.
I disagree.
I hate you.
I was like this world and story is so like I don't know. It did feel like Marvel to me, where it's like like I don't know. We gotta save the world, and there's heroes that do stuff and things, and we got we've got the Japanese bow and arrow man and the ninja, and we've got the like American soldier man with the rifle, and we've got the cowboy with the the 6-shooter, and I'm like, the game's fun though.
Yeah, what's cool is that they didn't force it into the actual game itself, right? You're not like in between matches and they're like, hey, watch this 2-minute cutscene about Tracer doing shit, right? But yeah, I mean, it's cool that they did try, and they obviously did a lot of work in terms of trying to build characters' backgrounds and stuff. But at the end of the day, do I really give a shit about any of that? Me personally, no. It's kind of like what Justin's saying. Is the game fun? Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Well, yeah. I mean that's a thing though. Like they didn't have to flesh out the story. They could have just made it go, oh hey, here's a here's a shooter, that's it, have fun, and people would have been fine with that. Like if you guys remember, right before this game came out, there was another game called Battleborn that came out, exactly like this game, exactly like it, but they they didn't put the effort into fleshing out these characters or creating a little background story for you to sink your teeth into, and we all know how that ended up.
I mean, I really doubt that that's the. I really doubt that's the reason why Battleborn.
No,
but like that,
but
so
it didn't help.
You know, this was a failed MMO, basically, right?
Yeah.
And so they already had a lot of that stuff already written and built out.
Yeah.
So it's not like they did that as a thing to sort of give us more content, whatever. It was more like they were building something else. They already had it, and then they just here because it was already done, and they needed to do something with it. So here you go. And the weird thing about it is that's kind of got a lot of people into it, made them really invested.
Yeah,
but a lot of people aren't willing to put that effort into it because you wouldn't think it would be necessary for a shooter. But you know, yeah, it's not, but it gets people into it, and it helps get people into wanting to play more and invest time into, you know, sequels and into this sort of world that they've kind of built. And I think it's like one of those things where it was accidental and it worked in their favor. I don't think it was like an intentional thing. I think they were, you know,
the planets
accidentally, they're accidentally successful at something that they didn't realize was going to be important or that players were really going to want. And hey, look, what do you know? They did.
Sorry to put this on like this. When I think of like Overwatch, I think about like, you know, there's like you think about like shooters, like, oh, this guy's like, you know, like, oh, he's really good at the game. But this game had like people that were like, oh, this is like the best Lucio main in the world and stuff like that. And it really felt like people had identities and stuff like that. Like it followed like, you know, streamers or professionals like scene it all. And people like DSP Stanky was just so fucking cool. Like he was doing things on this character that nobody knew were even possible.
Yep.
Oh man. So fucking funny, dude.
Great game.
Yeah. And it's like I actively hated Overwatch 2 being a thing. It's like, no, like there's nothing wrong with this. Like
yeah.
The thing that sucks about Overwatch 2 is that if you kind of play it in a vacuum, you're like, okay, like this is still fun. It's just the whole process, and it just all reeks of just bullshit. And you know, we talked about earlier in the chat with like the focus on esports. That was one thing where, at least in my opinion, that's kind of one thing where they kind of went wrong with the roadmap for Overwatch, is that it seemed like they were just focusing too much on like the, you know, the 5%, you know, like the super duper competitive players. And
it's
like, dude, I'm in my 30s, dude. I don't got time for that shit.
Yeah. I feel like it's all the wrong lessons that they thought that they learned that they shouldn't have when Ian Hazakostas like joined the WoW team. Because here he was this like high-end competitive raider, and that's around the time that the raiding scene got significantly more challenging and more difficult, and you had to have all of these add-ons to play the game, and you had to have all of these weak auras, and people are looking at your eye level and it just got too much. And it's like they lost the sauce. What they forgot is that they had this very successful game, which was World of Warcraft, and this is, you know, it bleeds over into like StarCraft and Overwatch, and basically all of these other games that Blizzard really, I think, has fucked over. And they got too much into the brains of the hyper competitive player and thinking like, well, you know, we need to build this game for the elite player. And what ends up happening is that's like less than 5% of the player base. And so if you gear your games around these top performers that are essentially trying to create content and stream these games, then you're not having a game that most people can play. Like most of us aren't that great at video games enough to do it for a living because, you know, we got to have a job. And like, I can't devote 15, 18 hours a day to play a video game for 6 months. I just can't. So, like, I am their target audience, but that's not who they actually target their games to, right? They target their games to the top 5 or 1%. And that goes for all this esports stuff with Overwatch, or the way that they've done their rating in PvP with World of Warcraft, or, you know, the way that they set up all their esports stuff for StarCraft 2. It's the same shit every time. They just,
Yeah,
this
it's
is
like
why
this.
Blizzard has so many problems.
Yeah, it's this weird paradox where they're trying to simultaneously uh, pander to the top less 5 or less percent, but also try to pander to the average player when that's literally impossible.
Well, it's like they market to the average player, but
Exactly.
they're
And then the
targeting the top
design.
players. They're
Yep.
designing the games around these, you know, they're designing the games not as a thing to be played and enjoyed in a community, so much as they're playing it as a means for people to create content on Twitch and YouTube. Right? Like, watching World of Warcraft, like, arena PvP is boring as shit. And like, it's just not that interesting. But that's where they put all of their time and money into. And this bleeds over with Overwatch too, as well. It's not, it is a Blizzard problem. This is not like a just one game or the other. They've done this with all of their games, and I don't think that they've learned their lesson yet. I mean, maybe they have with the recent BlizzCon announcements, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a problem with a lot of multiplayer games. Halo Infinite definitely had that same problem where they're trying to, play test everything with the super competitive players, but then disregard their input, but then also try to implement some of it, and then try to also, uh, you know, get the mass market in, and then it's like at the end of the day, you just end up missing all of that.
Everyone? Yep.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I think, well, there's just like, I feel like with modern game design in general, there's like a focus on like, there's the only thing that matters is what generates the most profit. And it's like, you can drive your game or your company however you want, but I feel like have you've got to have this thing where like you feed your game like something that like drives the casual fan or provides interest that's purely just beyond profits, right? Like, all they did was focus on esports, and but all they had to do was maybe add a co-op mode. Didn't have to be serious, but add something there, or maybe add some more cutscenes, or do something that keeps people like more interested in the game. Because me as a huge fan of the game, it's like I tried to do competitive, but even then I was like, man, I would love to fucking do something else other than just competitive 6v6, and have everything be like, have all the development focused around balancing micro balancing characters. But yeah, it's just, to me it was just Activisioning it up.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean,
it's all
unfortunately, it's not exclusive to
marketing.
Activision because almost all online first-person shooters pretty much try to do the same shit, where they try to please everybody, and at the end of the day, they don't really please anybody. And
Yeah.
ultimately, you look at games like, you go back to maybe like Halo 2 and Halo 3, and there was, almost like a sweet spot where there was some level of matchmaking, and there was that level of meta and some level of brokenness, but the vast majority of the people that would play the game just played it like normal people. Um,
So I'll just show this clip. This is like the best esports thing I've ever seen in my entire life. But I don't watch a lot of esports shit. But so basically, like, this is like, finals or something like that, or semifinals. And so purple team is attacking, white team is like defending, right? And so what they did is they zoomed past the point to get behind him, but they're also actually like they only snuck 5 people out there, not the 6. And so they think all 6 of them are out there, and then the person that's fucking back at base like switches and fucking like uses that new positioning to kill them from spawn. And it was just I was watching this live. It was just like the entire fucking crowd, everything was just losing their minds. But this is like their comms, you can't hear anyone doing it, but that's one of my favorite Overwatch memories, man. There was a time that first season of Overwatch League was really fucking cool. You know, it was cool to have like a league and see how it goes. But then like right after, that's when it was like, oh yeah, they're underpaying everybody and no one's happy. And yeah, like now like the casual player base is not happy anymore because they're not developing any new content for it aside from balancing heroes. Yeah, it just sucked. But yeah, it's I think the reason it's like why there's so much to complain about is because we used to love it so goddamn much, and seeing what happened to it is just a fucking shame.
Yeah, and I mean, for the record, I mentioned it before. If you go and play Overwatch 2 right now, it's still a fun fucking game. It's just all the stumbles and stupid corporate bullshit and the focus on competitive. So it's like you go to like a certain point in time. Overwatch 1 was an absolutely incredible game, and unfortunately, it got made less incredible, but it's still a hell of a game. So I just don't want to be overly negative when it comes to that.
Oh, I got so many negative things to say about Overwatch.
Start saying negative things.
Fair enough.
So I guess one of the negative things that I can say, not necessarily about Overwatch, but apparently I forget where I read this. It was some sort of like, I don't know, dev post on something, but apparently like the original game was not supposed to be competitive, but like in the beta, just like overwhelmingly players were asking for a competitive mode. And like they didn't plan for it to be like competitive in like the very beginning, and then they like very quickly had to like not had to but like they shifted to that because that's what people were like overwhelmingly asking for.
Yeah.
But
You think you do, but you don't.
Exactly.
That man is kind of right,
Here's the thing, like that line, that Jayon Brack line it's both correct and it's wrong at the same time. And it applies to the game that he was talking about and to, a lot of other games more broadly. And it's like it applies here because like kind of what Justin was saying is like the player base wanted this thing. They wanted to add this feature to the game, to the point with it they just felt pressure to do it, so they did.
Well, yeah, you give
And
the
I
people
don't and I don't think that the competitive nature, or I don't think having a competitive mode is necessarily the problem. The problem itself is the player base. We are the problem, right? Kevin Jordan sort of famously said that players are going to intentionally try to break your game.
Yep.
And it is your job as the creator and the developer of that game to try and
save the player
preemptively and save the player from themselves. It's a little bit of a nanny state like concept, and some people may agree or disagree with that, but at the end of the day, it is sort of true. You have to keep people from abusing the game, because otherwise people will optimize the shit out of everything, and then it's not fun.
I would say beside like the because there was a lot of early tweaks that they made that I think were like very justified. One of the famous ones were the Torbjorn's fully powered up turrets. If you had like 4 people doing defend, it was like damn near impossible, right? So there's like those very obvious things that they ironed out pretty early, but um, after I don't know, I would say like the first few months, the focus became on kind of satisfying those like those ultra competitive types. And do I know what the answer is? Not really. Um, and like I said, I mean, I still think it's a really good game. It's just they didn't handle the roadmap, I guess, is like the corpo speak that people use. I don't think that they handled Overwatch very well in the long term.
I mean,
I would say,
story of their life, right?
Well, so I've
yeah,
watched a
yeah,
lot of like, obviously I've watched a lot of like Overwatch like commentary and gameplay and tips and pros and all that kind of stuff. And one of the videos, one of the most prominent ones I watched, talked about how what was part of the lead of the downfall of Overwatch, and they talk about how they released Brigitte, who is like the little girl with the shield and the flail, and she basically forced a meta of like just 3 tanks, and it was like awful. Everybody like fucking hated it. It was boring to watch, and I'm just sitting there like, yeah, like that's because the focus of the game is on all this super hyper competitive shit. It's like she was needed for the balance of like the game in a casual sense, but it's just crazy that like people say the game died when she came out. It was just because of like a competitive meta. It's crazy.
Well,
It's
a
like that
lot of
would
that
never happen
competitive
with
meta
League of
shit is
Legends,
not
right?
fun. It's not fun. And if it's not fun, people aren't going to play it.
yeah. I mean,
They'll
where the
optimize it long enough to follow the carrot on the stick. And
you know,
eventually it's not fun and they quit.
exactly. And for someone like me, um, that was playing it a lot in the first couple months, I kind of just fell off because I mean, sure, like the focus on competitive stuff, was what it was, and that's fine or whatever. But the content rollout wasn't really great either. You'd be going, months without new heroes or new maps or anything, and like you just get like these random like, oh, during BlizzCon, here's this new map or whatever, right? But um there was a lot of places where they just kind of fumbled the franchise as a whole. It isn't just that one thing, in my opinion, at least.
No, I think the problem though is like it's interconnected though, right? So like a lot of those fumbles they stem from the same place. It stems out of trying to monetize their audience as a commodity, right? And trying to min max a game because they're catering to the top 1% of their players, because the people who are now in charge of those games are the kinds of players that are those top 1%ers who don't understand why everybody doesn't min max the shit out of every game. And
Yeah,
like,
they kind of painted themselves in a corner in terms of like monetization because, after the initial buying of the game, it was either buying loot boxes or making money off of like the whole esports angle. So, when you look at it from a monetary perspective, it's like, okay, I get it. They focus on this because if you paid $40 for it, it's like you still get those hero updates, you still get those maps. And if no one's paying for, loot boxes, they still have to monetize it, elsewhere. So
I just think
it's
it's
like,
funny. It's like this is like a top 100. We spent like 15 minutes talking about how bad this game is. Like,
I mean, I think it's
I
because
think it's a
it's
great game.
frustrating because the game is good and there's a lot of potential that got squandered.
yeah,
I
exactly.
think that's the problem, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I think this is, there are other developers that have similar problems. Blizzard, in particular, is sort of notorious for fucking themselves over every time. It's like, and they don't understand how or why. It's like they're completely perplexed as to how this happened. You know, it's like they got into a car accident without a seatbelt on, and then they flew out the windshield, and then they wondered what happened. And it's like, well, you intentionally crashed your car and you didn't wear a seatbelt. So, yeah, but it just happened. I don't know what happened. It's like they do that kind of shit every time. And then they're curious what happened. And it's like, well, Big Daddy Robux here, Bobby Kotick is playing for your money and not giving a shit about the player base. So like that kind of stuff is going to bleed over into all kinds of stuff. There are things that get sort of pushed down the pike from the, you know, from the board and from upper admin, C-suite, that are going to have long-term effects on your product, especially in a case where you're creating a creative venture, and there are people that have left their teams in the past couple of years, like Brian Birmingham, who left the classic team specifically because they were trying to basically fuck over their own employees, and create this like weird tier system that doesn't make sense. But they do this kind of shit every time, and it's so frustrating because like the things that the actual people actually creating the game are making is cool, it's brilliant, it's interesting, and it's like they're so close, and then it just gets squandered, you know. So like
Well,
Overwatch is like a really good example of that. Like I think that's why it's so frustrating.
Well, yeah, I think we've talked about that game ad nauseum for the time being, and then I think when we start like bracketing it out more, maybe some of these more negative aspects of it will be a little more relevant to what we're talking about. But yeah, if you want to keep going,
No, I think we're fine. I just think it's a really important topic, but it has a lot to do with a lot of these games.
We can keep Mass Effect 3 short. Mid.
Fuck you.
so I'm pretty sure this is like what me and you, right, Chris?
Yeah,
like, we're the only ones. Like, it's like, and I'm pretty sure on the same boat, right? It is not the single player game; it's just the multiplayer.
Jesus Christ, it's the multiplayer, and
Yes.
Do you remember so you and I played a lot of the multiplayer together on this? Do you remember how much shit I talked about the multiplayer when they made it and they came out?
Yeah.
And I was pissed off that they
Me
wasted
too.
development time about it.
Yeah.
And it ended up being the best part of the game.
Yeah. They accidentally made something that was just like the funnest fucking gameplay loop, just over and over and over. And it's like
Hours.
if there's one game like I would like fucking blackmail you all to play with me on a normal basis, it is 100% this. More than
All
any
day.
fucking thing else.
All
Not
day.
even close.
Vanguard shotgun forever. Like the rest of my life.
What?
Yeah.
Nobody's ever told me to play this game. I've never heard of this until now.
I didn't. Wasn't it like that one year we were doing like the fucking buy each other like Steam games on the wish list thing, and like I think I bought everybody Mass Effect 3 or something like that.
Yeah.
You might have.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just like mention really quick, like the Mass Effect games in general. The story's great for the first one and the second one. The second one, like even better story, right? Gameplay for single player campaign is great for all three games. The playing of the game is fun. The story in the third one was red, green, or blue choice, and that fucking sucked.
And that's
made everything irrelevant.
That's the very end, right? Like that's
Sure,
the very end.
That's what made a lot of so pissed off.
That's what everybody remembers, right? But there's also like, the Morden death thing, which was like I almost fucking cried and shit. Like I was losing my mind at how like hard that was to do. Like there was.
I thought it was well done though, so I was fine with it. Like you can kill off a character if you do it with purpose, and it feels important and it's not squandered. And I felt that for his death. I felt like that it made sense. It was okay for me. Like I wasn't happy because like I liked the character, but in the context of the story, I was like, okay, cool. This is furthering this big narrative, and all of my choices matter. The reason why the ending is such a big deal is because it made that death feel like bullshit.
I don't agree.
No.
Oh,
I mean, like that ending was garbage.
I don't have a huge problem with the ending of Mass Effect 3. I just felt that Mass Effect 3 just turned into side quest the game.
Yeah.
And it didn't really feel
that's fair.
Like nothing really had the urgency of the first two games.
And
Don't
you
get me
had all
wrong.
that stupid
Don't get
thing
me
on your
wrong.
phone to like earn points. Remember
Yeah, that too. But I still think Mass Effect 3, even though I was joking saying that it was mid, I still think Mass Effect 3 is a very good game, but it doesn't hit like the first two for me.
Yeah, and that's fine because we're not here to talk about single player. We're here to talk about one of the best, tightest fucking multiplayer co-op experiences
The
ever created.
multiplayer is brilliant, and I'm not one to play those kinds of games either. Like I dumped maybe 4 times as much time into the multiplayer than I ever dumped into the single player campaign.
Yeah,
Like,
we played it
by
for
what
years.
I paid for DLC loot boxes.
Yep. Oh, I never pay for the loot boxes. You're crazy.
I paid for loot boxes.
But this was actually the first game to ever have loot boxes. I'm like 99% sure. But it was so
Oh,
weird.
I got them because I wanted shotguns for the
Yeah.
infiltrator, the Geth infiltrator guy.
Yeah. So let me break it down because I know a lot of people haven't actually played it or done it, but it's like basically the multiplayer was like it was just this short, quick horde mode where you do 10 stages, you go to a map, and you try to survive 10 waves and get out. And that's it. There's no story, there's no crazy advancement or anything like that. It's just survive 10 waves. It's when the game launched, it had like 4 or 5 classes, and you could be a vanguard with charges into people and blow them away with the shotgun. You could be a sniper and turn invisible. Just like regular Mass Effect.
So
But then it got so popular that they just kept adding more and more and more and more to the point where like you could be a giant Geth Prime or like the little like Volus dude who looks like a fucking hamster, but you're shooting like all this magic and biotic shit out.
I played a bunch of the different classes, but I wanted to just like the Vanguard itself, the human Vanguard is such like a different play style than anything else because of the way these games you use powers, right? So you got guns and powers, right? And the Vanguard had this thing where you would like supercharge in, right? And stun everything. And then you could jump up in the air and fist down into the ground and pound this big AoE. And you could sort of put points in a way to like do it over and over again. Right. And so you could just zoom all over the map, just AoE pounding. And if you just gave yourself like a really high powered shotgun, you could just decimate shit, and it's so satisfying and fun to play. Now it's not always the most optimal way, but especially on the lower tier like bronze and silver, it was really really fun to do. Gold required like legitimate strategy, and you had to have like the right comp, and it like got
Yeah.
more
And like you can see
in-depth,
some of
but
these guys just have a regular health bar, some of them have armor, so it's like, okay, I got to use either some fire spells or I got to bring like something that's like a shotgun or like a sniper rifle. Because to fight
Right.
well against that armor type, I can't use like bursty little like assault rifles because they do less damage. But then
if
when
I
you do
remember
things with
right,
the barriers, it's the opposite.
if I remember right, like when you started up the level, you didn't know. Like, see, there's like different kinds of enemies you could fight. You could fight Geth, you could fight these guys, you could fight.
Yeah.
So, like, you didn't quite know what you were going to get really until the level started. So, you sort of had to like cover your bases in a way.
Yeah, I think you
Um,
could make those choices if you wanted to, but I think like it was always incentivized to do like random.
Random, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. There's just something about this. It's similar to what the fuck were we talking about earlier? The fuck were we talking about earlier?
So
Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
Like where it's just like it's simple. There's not like crazy shit going on where it's like there is actually a progression system, but like this felt so simple. It's like you fight, you do these waves, it's fucking fun. You get out and you like
Game's 20 minutes.
try to roll new or try to roll for new boxes for like characters or guns, and then you rinse and repeat, and it's like it never stops being fun. It's just fun the entire time, and it's really fucking hard. Like I don't know
Higher levels,
yeah.
it is actually hard, but it wasn't like they were trying to do it to make a competitive scene. It was more like the game just had a progressive difficulty setting.
I think it might have. I think it was one of those had to been there kind of things. 'Cause I remember when we played it a few months ago, I was like, yeah, this is all right.
Yeah, I've definitely got some nostalgia for it for sure. But yeah, I don't know. Like to me, like the loop worked so well because you would start off, your character can level from like 1 to 20, and then you could prestige him and stuff like that. But you'd start off at level 1, and you're doing these bronze level missions, and you're getting a little bit of points, and you're slowly upgrading, and then like you're getting the credits as well as the XP. And so as you level up your character, you're able to do harder missions, so you're able to earn more money, so you're able to roll on more of these like loot boxes. And fucking it was like a really satisfying progression, you know. And then you move on to like the next character to fully level them up and stuff like that. But yeah, single player game, I thought it was fine, but it
Single player's fine, but
DLC,
yeah, multiplayer, Jesus Christ, so good.
such an accident too. Like,
And so here's like where I get kind of mad though is like talk about squandered potential, because the story of the first and the second game was so good. Story of the third was like whatever. And the multiplayer was fantastic. And then Andromeda came out, and I remember telling myself, okay, this looks like really different. I'm gonna wait. And then it came out and it was garbage. And I was so pissed off. And then they never did anything with this franchise, really. That was it. They're just like, well, Andromeda was bad, so nobody wants Mass Effect anymore. And
I think they're reinventing it, right?
Well, but like, how long ago was that? So it was
Yeah,
like
they're working on a new one. They haven't really
Delays.
been. Yeah, they haven't been like super specific if it's like a reboot or anything. But I kind of imagine
I feel like
it's a
the
reboot.
wrong lesson to learn was, hey, we did something really different that was garbage, and so people just don't want this entire franchise that was massively
Exactly.
successful. It's just the dumbest take ever.
So I only played the first, I don't know, maybe 8 or so hours of Andromeda, and I didn't think it was that bad. But then again, like I said, I didn't play the whole thing. I mean, it's just kind of. It seems like it's one of those games where it was like a victim of its own success, and then they had some other development team take over.
It was a huge glitch fest when it came out.
Yeah,
it was like Colonial Marines and shit like that. Like it was really fucking bad.
Well, it was like a lot of graphical glitches, and like the facial animation was like really fucking bad because it was all like procedurally generated and whatnot. But I mean, it is what it is.
All right. Well, now I want to hear Justin talk about Majora's Mask for an hour.
I mean, y'all got time?
Yeah.
Is this on my list too?
I don't know. It's on whoever's time.
Me and somebody else.
I think I'm tapping out after Majora's Mask.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. This is the last one, anyways, right?
No, there's one more, but it's fine. Totally fine.
We can start. Inscription is a great one to start off on, I think. So.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll end on Majora's Mask.
Yeah.
It's on my list. It's a great game.
Talk to me about Majora's Mask.
I'm willing to admit that, like, I'm just a bad Zelda fan that loves the weirdest, not Zelda.
I like this emulator.
But yeah, Majora's Mask was just great. I love Majora's Mask because it was like it had the dungeons, and like the dungeons were fun to play through in like kind of that classic Zelda way, but like the rest of the world, like all the towns and stuff like that, were very like compact and had like tiny little things for you, like tiny little puzzles for you to like sink your teeth into. So there would be just like random stuff happening and you wouldn't know how to like interact with it, and then you'd be like, oh, like if I come back to this spot like on another day, then it will have something that I can interact with, or like, oh, now that I have this mask, like I can now I can interact with this thing on this day. And then like every time you find one of those is just super satisfying, I think.
Gotcha. So like, and this is I played it for a couple hours. I didn't end up sticking with it. But it's like the whole crux of the thing is like you just redo the last 24 hours, right? But it's like whatever you did, how like had like kind of like meta progression or something?
It's a 3-day cycle.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And it's like, yeah, and it's like, I don't want to say like it's the Elder Scrolls thing, but it's that thing where like on day one, like somebody is like doing one thing, and like, you know, maybe they like learn some horrible news or something, and then day two they're like sad about it, like some other part, you know, at some other place, and like maybe you run into them on the second day and you're like, oh, this person's like super sad, I wonder what happened, and then you can like go back in the first day and like run around and try and find where they're at and like see what's going on with them, and then
Gotcha.
like, go back on the second day and like now you know what happened, so you can like kind of help them out, or you know, it's like that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
It's pretty complex when you actually accomplish everything in the game. Like if you get every mask, like it's a pretty complicated game that like I did without a guide. I have no idea how, but you know, I'm 40 now and I need a guide. Like I do. It's not a game you could do without one. You really can't.
Ah,
Also,
Yeah, this is a strange
To
one
get
for
every
me.
mask, I mean, you definitely need one.
yeah.
To beat the game,
Yeah.
you can kind of fuddle your way through it. But like I think kind of what Justin was saying is there's all these like different things going on in the game at the same time, and you don't even realize it. But you uncover it as you go.
gotcha. So it's like really like it really gives you that kind of like, I don't know,
Makes you
that
feel like the
feeling of
world's
being
alive.
yeah, and it makes you feel like that. It makes you feel smart when it's like, hey, I noticed that person before. What are they doing now? All that.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah,
like,
it's like
putting that
the guy with
together.
the toilet paper and like what's up with that, you know? And then you figure that out and you get a mask out of it, you know? And then you use that mask to do something else. And so yeah, there's all these like little things that you don't really think about.
Yeah, didn't this come out? This came out right. Pretty much was the N64
Tail
Swan
end.
song, if I remember correctly,
Yeah.
right? This was like
Yeah.
the
Development
last
time for
big
this was like
release.
a year and a half or less, I think. It was
Yeah,
like
so
they slapped it together.
it came out like right around the same time the PS2 launched. So it was
That,
like,
Yeah.
I want to say it was like November of 2000 that this came out. And then
And-
I think like the last like notable N64 release was probably Conker's Bad Fur Day. I think that was like maybe
Oh,
like
yeah.
April of
I love that
2001 or
game.
something like that. Yeah,
That's
fucking
right.
Great game.
Yeah, I didn't play this on release because, like you just mentioned, PlayStation 2 came out. I think the same month that this was out, and I think I had just got my first job out of high school. Didn't have much money. I think I barely was able to afford a PS2, and I saw this, and I didn't buy it, and I didn't play it until years later. But I can appreciate it now. I just didn't play it when it came out, so I don't have a ton of nostalgia for it. I just remember it being around. I just never got around to playing it until recently.
What was cool is you basically you got to play as different different characters basically, and those characters played different and you could switch to them on the fly.
Yeah.
Which was like really unique at the time. You know, now that seems pretty mundane, but back then that was like a huge deal.
Well, it kind of reminds me of like an analog to like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, where it's like Ocarina of Time is like the Breath of the Wild, where it's like here's our engine, here's our world that we built, and then like Tears of the Kingdom is like, look at all this shit we figured out that we can do, like within this world, like check this
you
out.
want to be a Deku scrub?
I'm one of the people that is not a very big fan of this game. I respect it because it's so fucking weird. And just so this was like one of the few N64 games that required the expansion pack to even work. And part of that is because, it had that 3-day cycle, and it's tracking, the daily cycles of tons of different NPCs at the same time. And pretty early in the game, you get this. Was it the Bombers book? It's basically like a quest.
Yeah, the Bombers notebook. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like a notebook that allows you to track kind of like the various pieces of information that you get on different people, and okay, this person's here at this day and all that stuff. So like in terms of like game design and creativity, I definitely respect Majora's Mask, but in terms of actually playing it, to me it's, kind of like I was saying with Mass Effect 3 is kind of like side quest the game. With Zelda's, Majora's Mask is kind of like side quest the game. I think there's only like 4 dungeons if I remember correctly, and
there's more.
Yeah,
well, it's funny you
there's
have this opinion, but like you also love Breath of the Wild, which to me is like, yeah, there's like no dungeons. It's all just like walking around and fucking doing a single puzzle and walking around to the next puzzle.
Yeah, but Breath of the Wild has those kind of like emergent systems and whatnot that make things more dynamic and whatnot. I don't know, just Majora's Mask. I've tried, I think 3 or 4 different times, and every time I've tried playing this game, it ends up annoying the shit out of me. And I get it. Like I know I'm not like the I'm definitely an outlier when it comes to it, but
I
it's
appreciate
probably
the perspective though. Like I can see how people get to that point. I do. I get it.
Yeah.
Because it can feel overwhelming too. Like there's a lot of shit there, and if you don't know what you're doing, and like you haven't basically memorized the game, it can be a bit much.
Like, what is going on the screen right now? What does this have to do with saving Hyrule?
well, yeah. It's just
this is a really bad game to stop playing and then play again. Take it from me.
Oh, it is. Yeah, no, you have to play it all the way through, or you're gonna have a hard time.
I mean, there's just certain things in terms of the game design that fundamentally annoy the fuck out of me. Like there's, I'm trying to remember what those. There's little items that you can collect that increase the power of your sword, right? And I think you like need 3 of them at first.
So you gotta. Well, you actually build different swords, and like one of them, like the Razor's Edge, you gotta do like on a certain day, right? And then to get the next one, you have to. So it's like you have to do this whole sequence, like for an entire 3-day cycle, and then that will give you the big upgraded, most powerful sword, and then you can have that forever. But it's like you have to get far enough into the development process of the story to be able to do all of those components. And if you don't know what all those components are, you can get lost. And
No,
that
there's like relatively early on, there's like 3 items that you collect to like upgrade like the basic sword or whatever it is.
Oh yeah, okay, sorry, I
Yeah.
misunderstood.
So just as an example of how the games can be annoying, so you'll have 2, or even if you have 3 of them, and if you don't turn those in by the end of that 3-day cycle, because not all of your items transfer over, you're like, okay, I just lost these 3 items that I need, that I spent an hour getting or more, and now I have to spend this next day 3-day cycle to collect these things when I just collected them, but I didn't turn them in just in time to go backwards in the 3-day cycle before the fucking world ended.
Yeah, this looks sick as fuck.
Yeah, this is a really cool boss battle.
Yeah, this boss battle was. I actually loved this boss battle. The fish one was annoying though. I hated that. That was the boss battle for this one was annoying. Or not this one. The fish battle was annoying. I liked the like Ooga Booga, like whatever that guy was with the mask. You know who I'm talking about? In the Deku one. That guy I thought was interesting. One thing that's kind of cool is if you get the Fierce Deity mask, you get to go back and play all these bosses with Fierce Deity. But that's all you get to do with it. So it's kind of a waste. Like, because you can go back and replay all the bosses over and over again. Which sounds cool, except that that's the only thing you can really do with the Fierce Deity mask. It's not like you can use it around high roll. You can't use it on regular enemies. It's not like you get it and then can go do another, boss that you hadn't fought before. So it felt sort of gimmicky, like, oh, look at this cool thing that you earn that you can't actually use.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think like to the point of like a while ago of you playing as multiple characters too. One thing that I really liked about this game too was that like that was immersive, at least for me, is like when you have a different mask on, like you're not just a different character, like you have different abilities. You have a different character, like almost everybody in the game will have different dialogue based on like what character you are. And I thought that was super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, this game definitely looks like it's one of those things where like they took like you just have so much variety of gameplay, but probably a fucking maze to figure out how to even wrap your head around what's
Yeah,
going on.
it like because I played it. I bought the game when it came out, like day one, and I beat the game without a guide because that's what you did back then. And after I beat the whole game with a guide, I was like, okay, I got to get all the masks, and I spent forever like getting all the masks, and I did it, and I did it all without a guide. And then I found a guide, like I discovered that they had the Brady Games guide for this, and then I bought the guide because I couldn't even remember how I did what I did the first time
Oh, wow.
Mm.
because it's too much.
What do you think?
It's too much.
Which game has aged better, this or Ocarina of Time?
Ocarina of Time, hands down, has aged way better than this.
Mm.
100%. Because there are gameplay systems in this versus Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time, because it's a little more linear, it's a little easier to follow. It prompts you
Yeah.
on where to go. So like anybody, like my kids today can pick up Ocarina of Time and play it and have the same experience that we did. But Majora's Mask is not made for the modern player. It just isn't. So like it's got weird systems in it that make it really hard for
I don't
modern
agree with
people to go back and
that.
play.
People love this like weird cryptic shit nowadays, man.
But they say they love it, but then all they do is they go look up a guide. Like they just Google the guide and then just follow the guide.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I for the first time beat Ocarina of Time like I don't know, like fucking 5-7 years ago, something like that. I was never a fan, but if it's my money, I'm taking Majora's Mask because it's like Ocarina of Time is just it's a basic 3D Zelda game, right? They built everything off it. There's nothing really interesting in it for me, but like this is completely fucking different. But I mean, once again, it's like taking the advice or taking the take of like someone who's not a huge Zelda fan, especially in this era.
Mhm.
All right. Well, anything else we can talk about? Majora's Mask. Was this a Ganon game, or was there no Ganon in this game?
No Ganon.
So did you just fight like the forest
mask.
Maskin?
Yeah.
So he just turns into this, and you kill him.
Basically.
You
Yep.
give him like the old helm splitter through the face. Yeah, that was the one thing I say. Like, this game has like filler vibes like all over it because it's like you start the game off, you're just running through the forest, like, oh, I took your thing, see ya, and that was it. So was he like controlling the moon, or is
The mask is evil, and when the kid put the mask on, then it made him evil, and then it made the moon start to fall to the planet. And at the end of the 3-day cycle, the moon falls and destroys the world.
right? But like, is there no moon? Like,
No,
do we just get rid of the moon?
no. The moon hits the planet, and the planet's destroyed.
No, I'm saying in that cutscene that just played, he's killed the guy, and then the moon disappeared. So does Hyrule not have a moon anymore?
No, the moon just like cycles. So now it's back on the other side of the planet again. It's not being.
It's not evil moon anymore.
Yeah, it's not evil moon.
All right. Zelda Majora's Mask. I hope to actually play through that one day.
Great game.
Yep.
It is a great game, but I do think Ocarina has aged better.
Cool. All right. This has been a long one, but it's been good times.
Yeah.
We'll start
Yep.
next session with Inscription. I can't wait to talk about that game.
Oh yeah.
And try as hard as I can not to spoil that game, as hard as I possibly fucking can.
I gotta actually figure out what that game is. I don't think I've heard of that one.
Oh my god, you need to drop everything you're playing right now. Just get on that.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah. But yep, stuff to talk about next time. All right, us till next time. Everybody, stay safe. See you next time.
Keep the wieners in.
Wow.